Let's just start. Let's start episode
Okay.
195. There's only two of us. It's Tim and Jeff.
Everybody else is
We've killed
pooping
the
their
other
brains
three.
out.
We've-
They are
we've-
pooping
we
their
killed them.
brains out. Yeah, they died from food eating over Thanksgiving.
It's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
Derek tried to quit, but we murdered him before he could.
Yeah.
And then Dan decided to stream tonight over at Dapper_Chocobo, and then we murdered him before he could do that.
Yeah.
And then Kyle said, "Guys, I can't make it tonight," and we murdered him
He's-
before he could do that too.
Yes.
So
We actually, before he could even text us that he couldn't make it, we were like, how can you not make it if you're dead?
we're gonna kill you. So
Yeah, exactly. And also, Dan is still streaming. He's dead, but he's still streaming. So like, he's weak into
Mhm.
Berniesing it. Like he's just corpse.
it's just a
Live on
Mario
camera.
mustache. It's just a Mario mustache on the microphone. Dan's dead. Yeah, Dan's dead.
laying there on his desk.
So yeah,
This is morbid. Let's talk about killing people
of
more.
course
This
it's
is great.
of course it is a lightweight crew. This happens around holiday week. It's not that big of a surprise, but hey, we've got a few things to talk about at least. Also, I like keeping the cadence going of episodes. So even if this episode is like 40 minutes long and we only talk about 2 movies, then that's
Yeah.
what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
That
just
is what it, then it's a current cinema episode. That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. By the way, if you haven't already, go check out our current cinema content. It's on the same channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching it on Spotify, it is over on YouTube. So you have to go find us over there first. So Current Gen Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. Current Cinema has its own feed on Spotify, and you can.
It is on Spotify. There you go.
Yeah.
Search for it there.
Yeah, and I upload the videos to Spotify like you do for. I assume you do
Nice.
for this too, because
Mhm,
I don't go back and watch us. Sorry, I'm a fan of us together talking, but not going not in retrospective. Like I'm not like. Remember that time we talked about this? I don't really go back.
Okay,
and
so I don't either, unless maybe a show goes by and I'm like, did I say something weird? Like, was I a
Like,
jerk?
are-
Or was did I criticize something and come off like the people
Oh.
that I hate? Like, whatever
that's
the thing is
interesting.
that
Okay.
bothers me, sometimes I'll go back and at least listen to a section. Because
See, I was thinking you were doing it in my head. I was like, oh, he probably does it to refresh his memory on a take that he had on a game to see if his opinion changed.
that'd be nice if I should do that, because there are times when I'll come back and say, no, that game sucked. It's always sucked. And I'm like, oh, but 3 episodes ago, I loved it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
but I don't.
Yeah.
It's more about if I feel like, boy, that kind of might have been a hot take. I should go back and re-listen to see,
See everybody else, yeah.
am I the podcast person that I criticize? So sometimes yeah.
No.
Sometimes yeah. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm the one who like.
Sometimes the rest of us do it too. We
I-
all have
I
our
know
moments.
I know that everyone else loves this, but let me tell you why it's not that great. Like, I sometimes I don't mean to, and I'm sure we
Yeah.
all do that. But it's same with movies.
Kind of
and-
like you went off about Tears of the Kingdom and how much you hate that.
Oh, gosh.
Verbatim, that's what you said. I'm just
I know what's gonna happen for Game of the Year. I already know.
one of us is gonna get at least once around the whole table of 4 of us, hopefully 5. I would love for Derek to be there for that because he was there for most of
All
the
right,
year.
so let's make a prediction then.
Yeah.
Which for each of the 5 of us, assuming even if Derek can't make it, he's
What's
been on
the
the show
hot
for
take
so long.
that each
What's
one
the
of
hot
us says?
take they would have? So let's start with.
Well, mine's got to
Dan.
be Zelda, obviously. Like
Yours would be
I
Tears
already
of the
know
Kingdom.
that I'm gonna be like, is it
It's not
really
even that
that?
hot of a take. It's a room temperature take at this
Yeah.
point. You know what I mean?
Is it really that good? Come on, guys.
But think about the games that others are going to be fighting for.
Yeah.
I think. I think Kyle's might be, because Kyle is more positive probably than all of us about everything. Like he likes more things than the rest of us, don't you think? Or no?
Yeah, sure.
At least about games, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so Kyle,
No, I said definitely. I didn't mean it like all the time. I just mean
Kyle,
that like
if you're listening to this,
yeah.
we think your Game of the Year hot take, if you and this is on the negative side, gosh, what's a game that he would want to exclude or not be as sold on in the final? Maybe Hi-Fi Rush. No, he thought that was cool.
Yeah. I think to make an argument for one of the I don't know which Yakuza game he's gonna keep in his 10. But
You know,
in order
I could see him saying, "Listen, Zelda's a delight, but maybe he's what." This isn't a hot take. Maybe he'd be fine with it being at 10 if it had to be. Like,
Right.
Maybe
if
that's
anything,
the closest thing
he's
to a hot take.
Kyle's a healthy
He loves
healthy
Zelda. I don't know.
debater and compromiser on our show. He's very much like
Maybe the most healthy.
like I'm fine with that, Yeah. That makes
Well,
sense.
this isn't at all what my list
it.
looks like, but
So,
we can just continue on the conversation. So
he's got one of the Yakuzas up there in his top 5. I'm sure.
Right, so I have to go back to Kyle. I don't know what his hot take will be. I think.
Yeah, I think he's usually, I don't know. He's usually the one that's like kind of goes with the flow in a respectful manner. So I don't know.
Dan skipped something big this year. What did Dan?
Jedi Survivor for sure is a skip.
So that might be his hot take, is that doesn't even deserve to be on the list type of a
he might make that argument of like, well, if it were good, I would have played it, maybe jokingly, but I know he didn't play that because it's always in the back of my head and locked and loaded whenever he says anything.
Agreed.
And I think he might, I don't know if he skipped Hogwarts or not, but I didn't expect him to play it anyway. Like, it's one of those games where like, if somebody told me I'm not getting it or I don't feel like it, I'm like, okay, like, whatever.
Also, us putting it in the top 10, some people might consider that a hot take, even though I very much want us to do that. But that's
my
Derek,
feelings.
If he's on the show, I think the hottest take he'll have is about Spider-Man 2. I don't think he's as in love with it as I think he liked it a lot.
But if he loved it,
head over heels,
and he wasn't on the show for it when we talked about it a lot, but like he would have made it clear through his posts in our group that he loved it.
No, I think he finished it, and I think he gave it like an 8 out of 10 type of score, and I think he would.
I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah. Because he posted something about games he finished with their score, and I'm pretty sure he gave that one like an 8, and I was like, 8? What are you, IGN over here? What is the 8? What's with the 8? So I think Derek's is Spider-Man 2. I think Dan's is Jedi Survivor. Let's just make Kyle pick one. There's got to be something that that was beloved that wasn't really his thing, and I'm trying to remember what that thing was.
Maybe he just didn't beat Hogwarts, so he's
Mario Wonder, maybe Mario Wonder. Maybe his hot take is that
Kyle's
he has no strong opinion.
On all this.
He has no strong opinion about Mario Wonder. That's the hottest take he's got.
It's not going to be it's going to be pretty lukewarm. Whatever the hottest take is that he has is going to be,
I think,
very polite and lukewarm and respectful.
Mine is the one I picked for myself, and I could be wrong when it's all said and done. I don't think it's going to be Diablo 4 just because I didn't play it, but also I don't think you guys are going to be fighting for it incredibly hard. But I do think just in order to get some of the ones I really love higher, I might end up saying some stupid hot takey stuff about Baldur's Gate 3.
I can see that.
Because I've got some thoughts that are like,
it's
not a 10 though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I have some annoying takes about it. And I say that because I know I know, like, when you're in love with the game and everything, like, that is and I've seen so many people, and I love this about this game. So many people are like, this is the best game I've ever played. It's my new favorite game of all time, and I love it. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it is though. Like, really, like, and I feel like that guy sometimes about it. And you know what it is? It's because I've only put in like 15 hours into it, and so I haven't really.
Yeah, I'm still at the very, very beginning of the game, which is even way earlier than you are. I don't even have everybody yet.
And yet I've finished Planet of Lana and some of these other little
other
games.
beatable ones, the ones that are like, I can do this in a sitting, right? You know.
So I think that's and yours is probably yours is Tears of the Kingdom. So there you go. There's probably our hot takes about some of the biggest games of the year, which is usually when something like a Final Fantasy 16 squeaks ahead of some others because we can't agree on something. That's how Guardians won. It was kind of like second, third for most people.
Right.
I don't think anyone had it as number one, but
and Final 16 could be that, or Zelda or 16 could be that for us because Baldur's Gate 3, Kyle's played the most of out of the rest of us, the four of us.
And I know Derek he's in love with it. Like, that's
it's his game of the year, no question.
Yeah.
But like Zelda, I know you, Kyle, and Dan all love.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well,
that's why I think something like a Final Fantasy 16 that we all really like to / love. It depends on where we are on it. I think I'm probably the lowest on it, and I still have it in my top 5. I just don't know where. But it's like, and that speaks highly of it, by the way, because it's not my type of game. I'm not usually big into character action games. I really don't like those kind of games very much. I like Devil May Cry 5, Bayonetta games, and this one. And most of the other ones I don't really get into. So the fact that it's fighting for a spot in the top 5, believe me, that's a compliment for Final Fantasy.
Definitely.
So that'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I hope that's a little to the left wins our game of the year. So
the which is like moving out, or what's that moving unpacking? That's this year's unpacking.
It is this year's unpacking.
Or that or the cooking one when it's like Venba or whatever, which was nominated for some Game Awards.
I don't know about you, but it had an impact on me.
It had an impact. When I saw them cooking, I was like, I am impacted.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, let's talk about a couple of new things that I think are at least worth highlighting. I tried a couple of demos of them. There's really nothing much new that came out this week. This is a week of sales of things that have already been out for a while, in some cases this year. Great week to catch up on games if you missed some. Great week to get some discounts. And some games were surprisingly discounted. So make sure you check. Most stores are running those through. If I can get this posted in time on Monday, we'll see if I'm able to get it posted. It might be Tuesday.
Cyber Monday, it should still be going. Yeah.
Yeah, things should still be rolling. And then again, platforms like Steam and others will have another sale in about 4 weeks, right around Christmas time.
They do. Yeah, they do one around after Christmas. Yeah.
Yep.
Or so before it.
There'll be another round of me spending too much money.
Good Lord, dude, it's a problem.
It's a real problem.
Not for you, not for no.
For me this time.
I bought some too.
The last sale, I didn't buy anything. I was like, nothing's really catching my attention as a must buy. And this time, same things were on sale pretty much, and I was like, ooh.
It's the mood, really. It's
the mood
because it's not the ones on my wish list are not on sale enough. At least as far as this year's games are concerned.
Well, then I get the emails. They're like, hey, all these games on your wish list are on sale. I'm like, they are? I should go see what they are. Ooh, 10% off? Oh, geez. Anyway.
Yeah, 10% on a $40 game. Thanks, guys.
Oh, my gosh. But there's this game out called In Stars in Time, which I think, if I remember correctly, was getting decent reviews. Some folks are saying it's got some of the, if I remember this is the right one, some Earthbound type vibes to it. Let me see if I'm thinking of the right one. This is, I think, a black and white RPG. What's it called? In Stars in Time. Let me just search. By the way, if you're watching and haven't noticed, I'm in a different setup. I'm in a different room of the house. We got family in town. We got my normal office space is being used. One of my teens is crashing there right now. So like things are kind of weird. So anyway, I'm going to use my phone to.
There's on OpenCritic, this one's at the high 70s.
Okay. So not like breaking the bank in terms of reviews.
Right. There's one publication called Game Explain, and it's game with an X plane. Oh, and their review measurement just says liked a lot. It's like 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, liked a lot.
Yeah, so this one I think really cool. Retro RPG gamers, maybe this is one for you, but I haven't really looked into that one too much. There's a sequel that I didn't know was out, but I am interested in it because I like the vibe. I like the cheesy Jack Black Tenacious D style metal vibe of the Valfaris game. And they just put out a sequel called Valfaris Mechatherion. They're pretty affordable. You can actually get the first one, second one, and then a third game in a bundle on the sale right now. But it's like $20 for all three.
This art style is really fun.
Yeah. It looks really silly. It's very like heavy metal. Like literally think of heavy metal cover, like album covers from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's that vibe, and it's all pixel based.
It's more neon than dark black or grays. Yeah. I can tell from the violence that it's like comical. And I
think the reviews on it were pretty, like, at least the Steam user reviews were pretty positive for Valfaris.
Well, that's assuring, because I kind of trust. At this point I really do trust them quite a bit. More than I expected to, because they're, especially now that you get verified little marks, whatever,
and they'll tell you they got it for free. Or they refunded this product.
How much they've played.
How much they played at time of review.
If you played half an hour, it's not going to be a high rate of review. So like, it's just easier to sort through those. The recent one, Mechatherion, whatever. On OpenCritic, it's only based on 8 reviews though, but it's in the high 80s.
That's good.
Yeah, man.
It looks like kind of like a just crazy over the top action side scroller pixelated game with like heavy metal type silly themes, lots of explosions and blood and.
Right.
Yeah.
That looks cool.
I had it in my cart, but because I was overspending, and I'll go through some of the stuff I bought later. I held off on this one, although I do think I'll end up getting this at some point. It does look like fun. So that's out.
It looks like I could enjoy that one too. Yeah.
It's one that I don't think it has a demo. It's one that could use a demo, I think, if it doesn't have one. I put wordless, but it's actually worldless. Let me fix that.
I didn't even notice, because it's when the L's are that close together but so far apart, I couldn't even tell.
Worldless.
Yeah.
So I played the demo for this. It's on Steam. It might be a demo elsewhere. I'm not sure. It's this kind of side-scrolling game. You play this disembodied, almost like constellation, and there's a very heavy stars and constellation theme, because there's like two little triangles for your hands, and then 2 more for your feet, and you kind of have like a little circle with a little wavy thing off your head. So it has the look of maybe a constellation of a body. It's kind of a cool concept, and as you move around, you start to in your head kind of just fill in the blanks that you're a little stick man or stick woman type of character.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's one of those side-scrolling games that's very flowy. Like the jumping, everything feels very flowy, which is fine. It's a little floaty, but it's not too bad. They give you some cool abilities like dash and the ability to activate the environment around you with this little pulse that you send out, and it could like turn on a platform and stuff like that. And then the combat is weirdly sort of turn-based, but also button mashy, where
turn time-based or something.
Turn time, yeah. You have like a little timer that starts to go down, and you either have a physical attack or a magic attack, and you over time unlock more versions of those, and you can power those up. And the enemies you fight might have a shield up, they might have a weakness to one thing or other, so you want to time those. You can unlock combos, and then also there's kind of a parry mechanic that I found to be a little bit tough. But yeah, the enemies will either throw physical or magic attacks at you, and you can try to block.
I can't get the Qs down at all.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Really tough.
Especially
I have
when they
the full
do like
game at this point.
Vertical, horizontal, vertical, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I feel like it changes based on the type of enemy design that you're up against, because like it'll give me like a new help menu. I've only done the first 3 encounters, and then the boss for that particular mission, I should say. It's like the first mission. Yeah. I just get wiped out every time, and 3 times, and I was like, okay, I'm good.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm good on that. But yeah, it was like 3 different enemy variations, and I was like, well, they have different indicators for how they attack based on magic and physical. I don't know which block to use now. I'm confused. Right. So I felt like it was giving me maybe a little too much at once. Yeah. But it's a really cool concept, though. I really like the whole timed aspect of the turn.
Yeah, I expected it to be like X to attack, Y is a strong attack, RB is a special move. I just thought it would be a standard platformer. Yeah. And when it went into the battle screen, I was like, oh, this is new. This is new. Yeah. Different.
It's a cool concept.
You can revisit any of those battles. I don't really know if there's any experience to gain from redoing it. Not that I
don't know about that. Well, I don't know about that, dude. But there is a way that you can absorb the enemies at a certain point if you fill a certain meter to 100%, and that gives you some type of in-game.
I only did that one time.
Yeah, I did it the one time too, and that gives you some type of in-game current skill point. It's a skill point thing. So it gives you a skill point that you can spend for the unlockables that you were talking about with the different moves and combos, and like some of them help your shield last longer because you can even see the lines in your shield. As soon as you summon it, there's 2 lines. And then you can add a 3rd one, and that indicates the strength of your shield. How many hits is it going to last, basically?
Yep. And if you do the parry timing right, you don't take any damage to your shield.
It's tough though.
Super inconsistent with the timing.
Yeah.
But I mean, not unlike something like Mario RPG, where once you learn the enemy's cadence of here's the move, it'll flash vertical for a magic attack, horizontal for a physical attack.
Yeah. Those are just easier to read because it's not just obscure shapes.
Right.
Or whatever. Or not obscure, like obtuse. They're more like obtuse and weird shapes, so it's kind of.
It's just getting the timing of that. It's like, okay, I see that. And then is it a 1 Mississippi and then hit it? Is it wait till I see the animation start above me? So I wasn't really sure. And that's okay. Like it's one of those things I'm sure that you would get after playing it for a bit. I did finish the demo to the point where it cut to like a sizzle reel of a bunch of the game and then said, thanks for playing. Cool. So I'm going to count that as a finished game this year.
There you go. You beat Worldless pretty much.
I beat Worldless.
In the full game, because I got it for like, I'm probably going to get a refund on it because I didn't put that much time into it, and I don't really feel like playing it much more.
It's only like $18, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. So it's if you feel like supporting a smaller dev that's got kind of a challenging game and those type of games appeal to you, then there's this one. But they do show you at the beginning the scope of the game, like. They show you at the beginning the Big Bang kind of, and how these are basically stars colliding in the universe, and you're basically a star that's fighting another star, more or less. Yep. And they're different colors, because race and race. The stars are a race. But a
lot of orange versus blue. I feel like those are exactly pretty popular color palettes when you have color switching of some kind.
Yeah, Strayed Lights did purple and something else. I can't remember, but Strayed Lights kind of did the same thing. The fact that it just came out,
I could see similarities.
But it's kind of cool. Like, it shows you the scope of like the whole map, which is basically shaped like constellations, but they're a little more obtuse, kind of like the enemy designs. Where you have like I think 8 total lines that you can expand upon and travel to. So it's not like it's a huge, massive game. Like
right.
And you can replay, of course. You can replay enemies if you want to. I don't know. absorb them or something. Maybe you just
maybe if you didn't
absorb them.
like I didn't, maybe I didn't absorb either of the bosses. Maybe I could redo that fight and try to do the absorb move.
Yeah.
Which is interesting too. You got to get the meter up to a certain point, and it'll tell you some of the letters, but then not all of them. So you have to get the meter back up or up to 200. Like I don't know. You have to fill it to a certain point, maybe all the way full, for it to show you all the letters.
If you fill it up all the way, I think
then it shows all of them.
I think you just absorb them. Like that's it.
Okay. I think I did it first at halfway, and it gave me like 2 of the buttons and then a question mark. And so I got those wrong, and then I had to like refill. Anyway, so it was fine. This is an interesting little game. It's a nice little indie game if you want to go.
Yeah, and it's getting like 8s pretty consistently on the reviews and stuff.
And the other one I tried a demo of was Ninja Isen.
Gonna eat some ninjas. That's Ninja. That's Essen. My bad. That's Essen in German.
Yeah, come on now. That's what I was just thinking. German. Isen. So listen, this is I don't think it's made by people who have English as a first language, because there were several moments already in some of the little lines. I was like, well, that's not correct.
There's a game I'm going to talk about that's very
similar. It said, like at the beginning, it shows this encounter. You're like this ninja / robot, some kind of cyborg ninja that's injured, and this doctor guy comes and finds you, and you see your arm off to the side, and he like reattaches it with stuff, and then it says 3 months later. I was like, close.
Month of 3 later.
3 months later. So anyway, it is a side-scrolling, a little Ninja Gaiden-esque with more fluidity to the movement, and you can throw a shuriken, you slice with your sword, you get a bunch of special abilities by holding the bumpers, and then once they power up, you can hit a couple different buttons to do a dash move or get these things to spin around you. It's fun. It's a fun little side-scrolling kind of Ninja Gaiden type game. It just wasn't really my thing. I wasn't really feeling it. So that's the same with Worldless too. It's like I see the appeal, and if you're into that kind of game, go play it. Same with Ninja Isen. If you liked Ninja Gaiden and maybe The Messenger and those kind of fast-paced side-scrolling action ninja games, totally give it a try if that's your thing. But yeah, I was ready to move on after like 40 minutes or something with the demo. That was good. I like a good.
You're
I like
more generous with your time in the demo then, because I usually I go like 15 and I'm like, all right, I think that's good.
It depends on the game. Like I was interested enough in this. I was like, yeah, this is fun. And then once I died the second time, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I think I'm good. I get it.
We're done here.
I get what this is. It's cool. And, it might be one of those things where if I had only kept going, there's an incredible boss fight and the boss encounters would have made me love it. Like, I don't know. But I just wasn't totally. So I didn't buy either of those, but they are out now. And they're not very expensive. So there you go. That's all I know of for new games. What about you?
It's more than I could have found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was doing some deep diving outside of like the dark corners of Steam where no one wants other people to know that they go. Those are the only ones I know of that are new. But there was
there are dark corners of Steam. I gotta
go. There are some dark corners in Steam. So there is a new movie out though that I'm super interested in because Gladiator continues to be one of my favorite movies of all time. I freaking love that movie.
We talked about that last week, right? And how
it's a dad movie. Yeah.
How you just recently rewatched it and it was like, yep, that movie's still amazing.
Dude, everything about it. It's still my favorite role of Russell Crowe, and I think he's got a great career. He's had a great career. I love a lot of the roles that he does. Not all, but I love a lot of the roles that Russell Crowe's done. It's still my favorite role of his. Joaquin, I don't know. That'd have to be a whole separate conversation. He's had so many amazing roles, but that was an excellent one. That was a great turn as a villain. In Gladiator. So
agreed.
So anyway, I was very excited about this movie when I first saw the trailer. Ridley Scott directing, Joaquin Phoenix starring. It's another historical drama that I'm sure they're going to take some liberties in, but make us feel awesome by the time it's done. I haven't seen it. Jeff has. Did you feel awesome when you watched it?
No, I didn't feel awesome about it at all. It's kind of sucks. Really, really bummer news about that. So like, I don't know. I just expected a different movie out of Ridley Scott. There was so much focus on Napoleon, and I want to say Josephine was his lover / wife.
Oh, okay.
And so much yap. There's just so much yapping in this movie, dude. I don't know how else to phrase it.
Should be Yapolian. Am I right?
Yapolian, yeah, pretty much. Napsnorian or literally Napoleon. Because I did fall asleep a few times. But every time I fell asleep, it wasn't like there's a crazy battle scene going on and Jeff's snoring over here. It wasn't like that. It was like during the quiet. There were so many quiet scenes that I'm like, can we? Napoleon was in like 81 battles. Can you show more of them? And I felt like we only saw like 4.
The trailer looks like this super epic nonstop action war.
Yeah, and it's not that at all. I was really disappointed. They show like one of the first ones where they kicked I want to say British out of their country, which kind of helps lead him, like get some recognition for his name. At least that gets his foot in the door as like a leader, a military leader of some kind.
Okay.
I do wish that the movie it felt like Joaquin did what was asked of him, but his performance didn't have that much charisma in it, which is weird because Napoleon was so loved at that time, at least from what I've read, that like when he came back he was exiled like twice. And the first time he came back from exile, people were like, yeah, come on, let's go. This is Napoleon's country. People were so hyped. Yeah. So like when he came back, they show him returning from exile in the movie, and I didn't feel that. I didn't feel like why did they like him at all? Like I just didn't understand it. They kind of made him look like I don't know. Like he had like I guess he's supposed to be smaller in real life, but Joaquin's not that tiny. At least I guess that's isn't that like the historical rumor is that he was a short man?
The thing is that he was short.
Yeah. And so like it felt like the movie was trying to say, well, he's trying to compensate for that the whole time. So he's, that's why he's erratic and this and that. And like I get including moments of him being erratic and funny. He's actually very funny in the movie too. But his moments of being funny are more like him yelling at somebody over something trivial. Like he literally says, "You think you're better than me because you have horses?" And then he turns around and walks off. It's so funny. He like stomps off. So it's just funny to see what does make him mad.
I wish they would have really leaned into it and had it be Peter, what's his name, Tyrion from Game of Thrones. Just have him be Napoleon. Just really lean into
way hard.
Yeah.
Or that movie where the guy, what's that dwarf or little person movie called where it's somebody on their knees, is like Gary Oldman on their knees.
Oh my gosh. Yes, person. I know what you're talking about, and now I can't remember what that is.
They couldn't hire that person.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like
if they had had many people in that movie. Tyrion, I'm forgetting his name, Peter
Dinklage, yeah.
Peter Dinklage, have him do his line from Elf where he's like, "Call me Elf one more time," as Napoleon across the battlefield.
With the big hat, the comically sized hat.
"Call me Elf one more time."
The battle scenes are really, really good. That is definitely where the movie
I was just
shines.
looking up, it's Vanessa Kirby from the recent Mission Impossible movie. She's good.
She's great. She's Oscar nominated for a reason. She's incredible.
Yeah, she's a good actress.
I would say she's even better than Joaquin in this. Like Joaquin's not walking away with any award discussions
is any of that like your expectation out of some of his other incredible performances, or is that just no? Like
he's a reliable actor. Like I go into a movie going, Joaquin's going to kill it in this movie. Like every time because he's just so good. I do feel like I said, I feel like he was directed to act a certain way, and he delivered on that.
Nice.
But I just feel like the charisma part of the performance was like just either absent from the script or in the directing. My understanding is that because it's an Apple movie, that I think there eventually is going to be a director's cut that comes out. Okay. And hopefully it's a director's cut that's like has like 4 or 6 more battles in it. Because my God, I wanted to see him commanding. I wanted to see him, why he's loved by his soldiers, because they kind of rushed through like 2 battles where he's very successful, and then they went to Russia, which is where he lost the most troops. He lost like 100,000, 400,000 something troops invading Russia and trying to fight Alexander, the tyrant or whatever. So like, I don't know. I just would have liked to have seen more of his camaraderie with, the soldiers and like the citizens and stuff. Why did they like this guy? I just didn't get enough of that.
Show us how he won them over.
Yeah, exactly. And then the pacing of the movie, like I said, focused a lot on the love story that I was kind of like by scene 3, I was kind of like, okay, I get it. I get their deal. Yeah.
And they were having the most. I was looking at his IMDb, and there are ones that stand out as like, yeah, man, he was crazy good in this. And other ones, I'm like, oh, I forgot he was in that. Like, and And I'm not saying, like, for example,
he does kind of have that.
Maybe this is a bad example because maybe this is an excellent movie and I'm just forgetting how great it is. But We Own the Night with him and Mark Wahlberg.
I was actually going to bring that up as like a movie that I forgot that he's in because it's a forgettable movie.
I totally forgot that was him. You could have told me that was like, I don't know, like Vince Vaughn or somebody else. Like I was like, oh yeah, probably.
Yeah,
like,
I think Mark Wahlberg is his brother in that movie. Which that makes sense. They totally look alike.
They look a lot alike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say hi to your mother for me. Yeah.
And Joaquin hooks up with Eva Mendes in that movie, and like
none of it makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like they made the other guys after that movie to kind of poke fun.
Will Ferrell, Eva Mendes. He's like, don't say that to her. She looks disgusting.
She goes to kiss him. He's like, no.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'm still going to see this because it's going to be on Apple soon.
Yeah, it's going to be right there for you. Apple TV minus plus.
Apple TV minus. Dude, and thanks to you big jerk, I've got so many freaking movies on Apple that and series on Apple mainly actually that I have to catch up on when I do re-sign up for that.
Good.
There's a lot to catch up on over there.
Yeah, they got it going on. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody saw going into Apple's service that they would have one of the best original.
I assumed theirs would have kind of died
catalogs.
Away by now.
Like, yeah, exactly. Especially for being so cheap and like lowballing every other streaming service, but it's because all they offer is just originals.
Which, by the way, what is the cheapest one now? Is it Peacock with all their ad? Because they have like as cheap as $1.99 per month for a whole year if you sign up for a year.
I think it's still Peacock ad based. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty cheap.
Because Max ad base is now the same price as what it used to be when it launched.
When it had no ads.
Yeah, and it was 4K back then too.
That CEO is the best.
David Zaslav, not a villain name at all.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like a final boss in a game.
Exactly.
That hops
He's the type
into
of person where you go up to talk to him and a health bar spawns and you're like, what's going on? What am I doing here?
And he like pops the pill that makes him super big. And then there's a Metal Gear game, I think, where that happens.
Exactly.
Kyle, you need to be here for this. You could have told us what this is. We could have solved it. Anyway, listen, there's some other TV stuff that's out. And there's one that I wish I could talk to you about that I haven't watched yet that I planned on because my wife wants to watch it with me. The new Mike Birbiglia special.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm glad you both like him.
We do like him. His original one, which I'm blanking on the name of, was so funny. We actually had an old burned CD copy of it that we used to listen to. Really loved that. And then his What I Wanted to Say Was Nothing was an excellent. Or what I should say was
nothing was great. What I should have said was nothing.
What I should have said was nothing. Really great.
What was the first one called? It was like "Thank You for Laughing" or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah, that's not because I think
it was something super cheesy.
Because I think he's put out and he had My Girlfriend's Boyfriend.
My Girlfriend's Boyfriend, which
we didn't like that one quite as much, but it was good. Like all his.
Yeah, I like that one fine, but like I think what I should have said was nothing was the first one that you're talking about. Oh, Thank God for Jokes is the one I was thinking of. Okay. That was his first Netflix one, and then there was the new one, and now we have the one that just came out of New York. I think is where
I think we had some old CD, like one of his original specials that wasn't like a Netflix one. It's not on streaming. I think it was just like a Comedy Central special or.
It's Our Guy at the Party was on that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I had that one too. Yeah.
When he talks about his last name being like Birbigliography. Like yeah.
Bigaboo.
Yeah, it's so good. That's such a good special. Him and Nick Swartzen's earliest one were two of our favorites, like along with like Brian Regan and
the Nick Swartzen one where he's like, my cat has diarrhea. What are you feeding him? Like diarrhea. So stupid.
Dude, one of his old jokes, Swartzen talks about how he likes to hang out with his grandma because he feels young and strong. Like he'll pick up a gallon of milk and she'll be like, Nicholas!
Yeah. And like how she's listening to, this is not an original joke anymore. I think thousands of comics have made this joke now, but his grandma will be listening to old music.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, I guess when I'm her age, I'll be listening to like rap music.
Yeah,
and
hardcore
he like imitates rap music. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those are all like, yeah. So anyway, that's where when I think Mike Birbiglia, I think of, because my wife and I used to have to make long road trips to visit family because we lived kind of in between our two different families. And so we had these regular CD rotations and we loved stand-up comedy. And so a lot of Brian Regan, old school Jerry Seinfeld, Nick Swartzen, Mike Birbiglia, Pablo Francisco before he, I guess, I don't know what happened to him,
he
but
just
he was
disappeared off the face of the earth. That's
he
all
was
it is.
great early on, man. He was so funny. So all that to
but
say,
then you realize
Mike
that was
Birbiglia
his
is in
shtick.
that.
Was just that. Like
That was it. Yeah.
that was it. That's all he had to offer was
he
fun
did a great
voices.
movie trailer voice and kind of like the funny like Latino girls fighting voices. Like he was really funny at all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But then maybe that was.
But then I saw him live and I was like, oh, this is all he has.
This is all he's got.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really sad.
Man, it makes you appreciate the ones who like the Bill Burrs, and I keep saying Brian Regan, but honestly, he's one of my favorites. I don't think Brian Regan's is
still
the
good.
top, but Regan still makes me at the very even his latest Netflix. I still chuckling. I was like, this guy's physical humor and his facial expressions still get me.
He's doing the back in my day jokes without being so overt about it, which is what's annoying in a lot of comics, older comics nowadays.
To be honest,
he's doing it without really saying it so upfront.
Bill Burr is doing that a little much these days.
He's doing that a lot, but
it's still funny
in a way that's still like
it's still working.
I don't know. Some of the verbiage that he chooses is so like uniquely to him. I'm
curious to see where he goes next after his most recent stuff. I'm curious to see where he goes next after old dads. Anyway, all that to say, Mike Birbiglia. Get back to this.
Mike Birbiglia, the old man in the pool.
Old Man in the Pool, which is a great title. Is it still a lot of his kind of slow burn storytelling with
very much
big payoff? Okay.
Yeah, there's a the last like third of the special is top. So like it's definitely like slow burn, and then I'm like laughing a lot more in the second half. And not the second half. The second act, I guess. And then the final act is just like I couldn't stop laughing at one point.
Okay.
Like there's a part where he's trying to get the audience to not laugh at something, and it goes on for so long because he's always hearing people laugh. It's so funny. I'm not going to say what it is that he tries to get them not laugh at, but it's really funny. And then there's parts in between there where he's mainly talking about his health and how when his dad was that's the premise of it, is like when his dad was 50 something, and then also when his grandpa was the same age. They both had like heart attacks. I don't know if they died, but they had heart attacks, I guess. I can't even remember if they died. My memory when I watch things is just awful, dude. I swear. But anyway, that was like the premise that he started with, was like him being conscious.
The punchline wasn't that they died, so it makes sense I wouldn't stick with it.
So the entire thing is about him dealing with his mortality and trying to be more conscious of his own health physically, and how he's going about. That's where the pool stuff comes in.
Yeah, because he's probably young 50s. Right?
Yeah, he's somewhere up there. Yeah,
right around 50, maybe. Yeah,
probably. But he talks about going to like a nutritionist, and he's like, "Hey, nutritionist," but he's delivering it in his way that makes it funny to him. When he's like, "Nutritionists know the same thing you do," and just
that's really good.
He's like, it's like your friend started charging you.
Does he still kind of do like a little bit of the quiet talk for the punchlines?
Yes. Yeah.
And I just love that style, man. I really dig his style.
Yeah, I feel like the crowd, whatever crowd he chose, I don't know if he recorded several nights, but it felt like they were. It might have even been what I was watching it on initially when I started it. I think I might have been watching it on my work computer at first. And I could barely hear the crowd laughing, and I was like, "Is he not killing right now? What's going on?" And then I switched to my TV, and I'm hearing all the laughter. So I don't know. Could have been something.
It's maybe the audio is set up in a certain way.
Maybe so. But it was very funny. Definitely. Excuse me. Definitely up there is one of my favorites. I have been having a hard time reconciling, our own mortality and stuff, and the inevitability of certain things. This year especially, so like this really struck a chord for me to hear him have these very specific conversations, and I'm like, I'm kind of like thinking about this a lot lately. Not that I personally had a health scare, but I had a brush with mortality with something close to me.
Sure.
I killed a bug. I had a pet bug and I killed it.
It was the bug.
Stepped on it accidentally.
It's interesting because not only can he tackle that, but do so and still make you laugh. I feel like the other comedian who has done that, at least in a pretty good way, if not a great way, was Gary Goldman when he came back and talked about. I was just
about to say Gary Goldman has a good one about
he really had his depression struggles.
The Great Depression is the name of the special. Yeah,
The Great Depression, and that title's hilarious by itself.
It's hilarious
because I can already hear Gary Goldman in his voice saying like the Great
Depression. Yeah. Is that the one where he talks about Karate Kid, or is that a different one? It is.
No.
Karate Kid?
I think that was the earlier one when he talks about like turns out can defend like the crane kick,
and then he talks about how Noriyuki Narita otherwise known as Pat.
If that was the Great
Depression. Is your name Noriyuki, or do you prefer Pat?
I prefer Pat.
What's she asking me? Of course I prefer Pat. Hello.
Oh man, he's got some Alzheimer's, man. Like when he talks about finding a 20 in your pocket, how it changes your plans compared to like Bill Gates, when he talks about the difference in amounts of money. And then he has a whole bit that I think is one of his best about coming up with the abbreviations for states. It's just one of the best.
Oh, that's the best. Oh, I love that bit.
It's so good. It's so good.
I gotta watch the Great Depression. Made me like almost emotional because I mean he had an emotional moment in it too.
Well, it intercuts with actually like behind the scenes of him, doesn't it? If I remember that correctly, or was that just the beginning? I remember it shows like not on stage Gary Goldman.
I'm gonna have to look it up if that came out during COVID, where I was like kind of we were all collectively kind of going through something. No, it was 2019.
Okay. And he's Mike Birbiglia is excellent. Gary Goldman's excellent. There's some really good comics who maybe don't hit the same huge lights that your Kevin Hart's and your Bill Burrs and whoever else. Louis C.K.'s do, but like those guys.
I feel like Birbiglia is perfectly content to stay in the lane he's in, just doing theaters, because he does these like they're a single man plays or whatever, like just a one act, single man monologue show. You know, he doesn't do it like stand up, even though there's plenty of jokes in there.
Yeah, no, I like him a lot. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, my wife and I will be watching that one probably tomorrow. We're actually getting away since my folks are here. They're gonna watch our kids for a night, so we're getting away tomorrow, and we're already trying to pick out. We can't rely on the Wi-Fi of this Airbnb we're going to, so we're picking out what to download ahead of time.
So you can't bring your portal, is what you're saying? You can't bring.
I can't bring my PlayStation Portal, that's for sure, because I didn't waste money on one. But so like the Mike Birbiglia special is one that we're downloading. And also, I'm not doing quick hits, but just as one off the top of my head that I just remembered, we're on the last episode of what's it called? The Escape from True Flame. It's a Netflix docuseries about this dating thing called True Flame, and the whole idea is dude, it's fascinating. It's horrifying because it's a cult. It's a modern day cult, and they're still in existence now. They're not in trouble for anything.
They still exist. Specific. Great. Yeah, that's the best when it's like they still exist.
They show so many clips of their actual training courses and stuff that this couple's saying, and this guy is a maniac. And anyway, so we're watching that. We always love a good cult documentary that makes your skin crawl.
Escaping Twin Flames. I've been seeing that pushed pretty hard in the front page. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, the dude definitely, for a reason, tries to look like Jesus. So, like the European version of Jesus. Okay, let's be clear.
Well, if you're gonna model yourself after somebody and you want followers,
I guess
not a bad choice.
I guess it is it is something else. So yeah, we downloaded Mike Birbiglia, the last episode of that, and maybe I think Survivor. So we're just trying to get a couple episodes ready to watch while because you can't rely on the Wi-Fi at some places,
Yeah. You're not going out of state though, are you?
We're just going to go up into the mountains a little bit. There's cool. It's a small cabin that has it might be too cold for the hot tub, but there's an outdoor hot tub, but it is going to be pretty cold.
I wonder if it's the same exact cabin that my brother and his family stayed at. No, it's not. It's
pretty small. This is only like a 1-bedroom, so it's pretty little.
No, it's not. Yeah, he took all his kids, so it's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. This is just the two of us going. So, and then we're going to go up Pikes Peak to go up
awesome
train ride up the mountain, assuming the weather holds up. So anyway, Mike Birbiglia is one of the things we're going to watch. One thing that I will eventually watch when all the episodes come out is Fargo season 5. I have to admit something though. I actually never finished the Chris Rock season, and I don't have a good reason for it outside of I watched like 2 episodes, like this is really good, and I just didn't finish it. I don't know why. I guess I just wasn't as hooked. I flew through the first 3 seasons of Fargo. I couldn't stop watching them. And I don't know what it was. Something about the timeline reset or the new characters. It was taking a minute for me to really get into it. But I really need to go back and watch all of season 4 because season 5 looks awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if I
know I don't need
the show
to,
is
but I want
pitched as a anthology show, but season 4 does connect to a previous season pretty directly.
Right.
So I don't know about that, dude. So you might have to watch that one. Just in case season 5 does pull that same crap where you're like, who's that guy supposed to be at the end of the season?
Maintaining its quality though, season 5?
Season 5 for sure. It feels like they're back in the groove because season 4 is definitely a different flavor of Fargo. It's more of a crime family
Right.
Multiple crime gangs and families feuding with each other in Kansas or something.
It is in Kansas, yeah.
And it's basically like there's a couple. I think Jesse Buckley is like one of the people that are from the Fargo area that talks like that. So it's pretty much like a Kansas story, but it involves people that are from Fargo at one point. I don't know, but it's really good. It's just not. It's not what I think of when I think of Fargo. I think of like small town. Random family gets mixed up in something, stakes. You know what I mean? Like where it's just mishaps happening one after another. And some are hilarious and some are tragic and some are gruesome, you know, and they right away in episode 1 and 2, it's like episode 2 is like picking up the pieces of the mess that was left in episode 1, because episode 1 is like, what is happening, right? Things are happening and at an alarming rate. Juno Temple is like the lead in the show this year. She plays like Keeley or whatever in Ted Lasso. And she's like, I don't know, she gets in a predicament, and just the way that she tries to get out of it and stuff is it's pretty comical. It's pretty funny. And it's ingenious in a way too, like because she's like a suburban, well, not even suburban, because it's like a smaller town than that. But like she's like a, you know, just a mom or whatever. And she's like doing all this stuff that you wouldn't think anybody from a small town like that would do. So it's kind of like that type of series of mishaps, like that just kind of unfold. And episode 2 is like involving the players behind what happened to her. Like John Hamm shows up in episode 2 with Pierce Nips, which I didn't. That's the biggest surprise of the whole season. He stands up out of the hot tub.
John Hamm, we learned, John Hamm's not above anything.
He has no shame. None at all. He doesn't care. Who else is in it? Joe Keery's in it, who plays the guy with the hair from Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, right?
I forget his character name already. It's been so long since I last saw him.
He's kind of like the token boyfriend at first, and then it ends up being like one of the more lovable characters in that series.
Yeah. He was supposed to like die at the end of that season, I think.
But he ends up being like, all right, I like this dude a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Who else is in it? He kind of plays like a commander to John Hamm. He's like a second whatever. He reports to John Hamm's character, who's like a sheriff,
a deputy or something.
Yeah, exactly. But he's kind of like inept, and he's got like an alpha, whatever you want to call it, alpha male complex.
Sure. Yeah.
He's kind of an idiot.
The trailer showed him yelling something about how great he is, or something like that. So
yeah, exactly. Who else is in it? Damn, I can't even remember, man. I can't even remember who plays. Like, I feel like I should recognize the guy who plays Juno Temple's husband, but I don't feel like I recognize him at all. Just his voice sounds so familiar. I'm trying to remember who else is in it, but anyway, it's off to a great start. Only 2 episodes out so far, but I have a feeling it's going to be Jennifer Jason Leigh. She plays the mother-in-law to Juno Temple, and Lamorne Morris plays a sheriff or a state trooper that happens to be in the kerfuffle that happens with Juno Temple's character. And then you have, I don't know how to say her name, Richa Morjani. She was in Never Have I Ever, which I actually like that show. It's a pretty funny show. And so it's cool to see her cross over into other stuff. Like, that's more mainstream. Dave Foley also plays an attorney. Lorraine's attorney. Oh, that's Jennifer Jason Leigh's attorney. He's got like an eye patch for some reason, too.
Dave Foley.
I love that guy. I love that guy so much.
Even in some of these little bit roles on sitcoms, like he plays a psychiatrist in King of Queens that Doug has to go see, and then Carrie starts to like tell him things she wants Doug to work on.
You know, he narrates all of Dark Side of Comedy. He does the narration for all that.
He does. That's cool.
Yeah, and he also
he's great, man. I like him a lot.
I love him a lot.
He's like a dry
he's
delivery.
Still like a good resource to interview about. Like they just covered Phil Hartman a couple weeks ago. And he still gets broken up about that when he talks about him, because he was the one that read the letter on news radio from Phil Hartman's character. And he's like crying for real and stuff. And like and he's still broken up about it in interviews and stuff. And because it's tragic and so like needless. His shitty wife. God damn, dude. That was just, oh man, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Coward
ass. Honestly, that sounds like the beginning of a Fargo episode, like some horrible murder. Like, why did that happen?
Yeah,
I'm
forward
looking
to. It's kind of interesting. It doesn't really start with like there's something brutal happening the first 5 minutes of the show. It's kind of like picks up from. Actually, something happens at the beginning of the episode that's kind of funny.
Okay.
That Juno Temple gets in trouble for, and then she gets out of trouble, but then she gets into a whole other shitstorm of trouble right after that.
Whole other kerfuffle.
Yeah, it's a kerfuffle.
Yeah,
there's lots of shenanigans going on.
And I'm looking forward to it. I loved Billy Bob Thornton in his season. I really loved what Ewan McGregor did with his two characters and his. So like
dude, yeah, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead was like a force in that season.
Man,
I loved her.
So good. Yes, she's great. Yeah. The other thing, I don't know if it's new enough, but I'm just going to call it new. There's the new Trolls Band Together movie.
Yeah.
There was also, as far as
like a week, I think. I don't know. It's still new.
It's like a Thanksgiving holiday movie, and alongside stuff like Napoleon was one of the other ones, of course. And then I think also last week was the new Hunger Games spinoff, the prequel.
I've never been a diehard, so I haven't seen that yet.
So my wife and son are super into it. They've read the book, The Ballad of Birds and Song Snakes, and
Snakes and Harry Potter's better.
Songbirds. I don't know.
The Ballad of Harry Potter being better.
Ooh. You're right.
I mean, they're totally different things, obviously.
They're incredibly different. Anyway, I'll probably see that on the way back from our night away. She wants to. That's like the only movie out that she's interested in seeing. So we'll go see that. She's a super fan. So I'll see that, and I'll let you guys know if it's worth your time. As a non-Hunger Games mega fan, like I liked the movies fine. They had good moments.
I liked 1. I really liked 2 until the ending, and then 3 was fine, and then part 2. I don't even think I finished it. Yeah, I don't even think I finished part 2.
I think I was more interested just because I had book readers beside me filling in a lot of gaps for me. I was like, oh,
that definitely helps. You know what I have always loved about, I guess I should say I loved it about, well, I don't know if he directed all 4 of the main ones with J-Law. But Francis Lawrence, unrelated, was the director for at least I know he did Catching Fire and Mockingjay Part 1.
Okay.
And every movie he directs, he did Red Sparrow too with Jennifer Lawrence. The cinematography is just unbelievable. It looks so gorgeous.
You can tell the difference. Yeah.
But I think he did the prequel too. So you can just tell in the trailers, like, look at that shot. Like that looks so good. But it's just the story stuff is where it doesn't really mesh for me.
It'll be interesting. Of course, the main villain from the trilogy, he's somehow I don't know exactly how, but he's at the center of the story. I don't know if he's the hero, if he's the villain, if he's not really either.
Snow or whatever?
Snow, President Snow.
This is like young Snow, right?
It's like a young Snow, and he's at the center of the story. I don't know if he's supposed to be, if you're supposed to empathize with him, if it's like his turn to the dark side. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I think they left it open for more movies, is what I remember reading. Which is kind of like, go figure. Like you can't.
As far as like the young adult fiction, post-apocalyptic type stories go, like it's not the worst one. It's way better than the Divergent movies
or Maze Runner,
and the Maze Runner movies.
Yeah.
So
I like the first Maze Runner quite a bit,
and
then as soon as I heard the sequels were bad, I was like, well, that adds up. So anyway, we'll probably see that. But we did go see. I took all the kids to see Trolls, and my mom wanted to go too. So we went to see Trolls Band Together. Listen, it's a DreamWorks Trolls movie. It's exactly what the other two were. You could make an argument it's not as good because the first one was the most original one and kind of caught you off guard with these stupid little long-haired dolls actually having some personality and being fun and doing some creative things with music. And then the second one doing some, I thought, relatively creative things with all the different genres of music and the way that they make into the storyline. Now that you say that, I'm remembering that.
And they have all the different like each string represents like classical or rock or country or whatever. So like, all right, and it was fun. They did a good job with cameos and music, and it's kind of like, I think of it like Pitch Perfect. Like those aren't the best movies, but they're a good time. If you're there, if you have a lighthearted enough approach to it, it's like it's fine. It's just fun. They're singing, they're dancing. The Trolls movies, and it's not just because Anna Kendrick is involved with both, but they're just kind of fun. If you approach with that lighthearted sense of like, let me just see something goofy and silly, that's exactly what you get. And all I know is I chuckled at least a handful of times, probably because my kids were there and I was laughing with them, but they thought it was amazing. They all loved it. So whatever. It is what it is. It's not something that I had any need to go see in the first place, nor will I need to rewatch, but I also didn't hate it. And I guess that's what you could say about a lot of DreamWorks or, maybe more specifically Illumination.
Yeah, Illumination is the one that's like the devil of animation studios. No, that's not.
DreamWorks has made some good stuff, of course. I love the How to Train Your Dragon movies. I love the.
Are they responsible for the Puss in Boots one? The
Puss in Boots, Last Wish was great. I like the Kung Fu Panda movies a lot. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, I liked it. It's definitely not worth seeing unless you have kids, in my opinion.
Well, too late. I saw it, and I don't have kids. So it was. I didn't know it was already streaming, so I watched it on whatever it's on, Peacock.
Like Peacock, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it started streaming like immediately a week after it came out.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's on. They're only going to do. They have a deal with Netflix, I think.
Oh, okay.
Where they're like, hey, we're going to stream it for a few months, and then Netflix will get it. I'm like, okay,
Gotcha.
Weird deal for a Trolls movie, but okay. But anyway, I actually like. This isn't going to say a lot. Does not say a lot. Trust me. I like this the most out of the three.
Yeah.
But not by a lot. It's just the fact that a lot of the self-referential like meta jokes about boy bands, I totally understood. Yeah. I totally got them. Because I was there for that whole thing.
Yeah.
So like when he's making jokes about being a baby, when Justin Timberlake's character being a baby when he was in the band, he was the youngest. He was the youngest in NSYNC. He was like 14 or 15 when he joined. So like I understood all of those jokes and like how I don't know how they fell apart and stuff like that, and how he even busts out an NSYNC song in the middle of one of the jukebox musical numbers.
Yeah.
And that was like a big deal. Like, oh my God, he's singing a song from his past. I always liked that
Baby Diamond the best. I think Kenan Thompson had a blast doing Baby Diamond again.
Yeah, it shows.
And when he brings out this like one of those like. What are they called? Like these pop rings or sucker rings or whatever, like these ring pops that have like a sucker on them. Have you seen those? They like a little plastic ring and it has like a little diamond. Ring pop. And he brings it out as if he's taking a hit or something like that.
And he's like,
don't wave that thing around, man. So like my oldest son and I really got a kick out of that. So
little things. Anna Kendrick just kind of being I don't know, just her general character's like attitude towards things. Just kind of being not kind of carefree and stuff, but like in a
very
cute,
positive
funny way.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, the music was sung pretty good. There were some auto-tune moments that I was like, you didn't need to do that at all. They could sing fine, unless that was like the singer's thing. Like, because I think Troye Sivan was one of the voices, and he does do some kind of auto-tuney things.
Yeah.
But every now and then I hear a pitch correction. I'm like, you didn't need to do it. They already sing. What are you doing? It just bothers me in pop music when I hear that. But yeah, this one does it, and I think it sounds like the movie Wish does it too, where it's like, why did you pitch correct this to death? Beauty and the Beast live action one is pitch corrected to death. Like Emma Watson. I
didn't really pay attention that closely. I didn't know that. Okay,
it's only because
she's
at that
not
point
like
I'm in the studio a lot, and I just notice these things where I'm like, that sounds so unnatural.
Interesting.
Anyway, I'm still seeing Wish. I haven't seen it, but it's just based on what I've heard about the music is like, animation style, and the fact that it's like it's kind of like a Trolls movie where they're like advertising a bunch of other stuff, and you're like, is this a commercial or a movie? What's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm still seeing Wish because it's time of year where it's kind of like the Oscars buzz are heating up.
Let's see the animated ones.
I'm seeing all the animated stuff that could potentially be nominated. Just like I'm seeing all the movies that could potentially be nominated.
I gotta see them all, pal.
I gotta see them all, pal. This is my third year doing what's called the Oscars Death Race, where you watch literally everything that's nominated.
It's called Death Race.
Yeah, and so I try to. There's even a website for it. I think
you're trying to get a head start on what you think will be nominated.
Yes, exactly. Because last year I did it, and I only had like 2 missing until January. So last year I had 2 missing, and of course they were like the foreign language movies. I was like, of course I couldn't see those. Yeah. They only played in like Germany until you nominated them.
Oh my gosh.
But I try to pay attention to betting odds and stuff to track that basically.
Yeah, this one, the Trolls. None of the Trolls movies stand out to me. The first one did. I thought, that was surprisingly good. That's all I remember.
I think that one even got nominated for best.
And I was like, this is a lot of fun, and I liked the cast. And boy, this movie really kind of worked. And then the next 2, I think, were equally fun.
No, it got nominated for Best Original Song, which it did have, because Can't Stop the Feeling is a banger. That's a banger song. Yeah.
Super fun song. All their songs, the openings of all their movies are a good time. And I like all their mashups. They do a ton of really fun mashups with their music. It's all a good time. They're just kind of harmless They're not like going to change your life.
Very
They're also harmless
yeah.
movies. They're just like there for fun. Do whatever. Everyone can enjoy them.
I strangely
my mom
more...
was laughing. My kids were laughing. Like it was like,
nice.
all right, that was fun. You know.
I think my mom would enjoy this too, actually. Strangely, I don't know, something that feels less harmful, whatever, about less harmful about these Trolls movies and the DreamWorks movies in general than something from Illumination. I don't know what it is. It's like the language that these Minions movies and whatever speak is just so juvenile and for infants that I'm like, you're not even trying. Like you're just emoji movie. You're not even trying. But I do feel like there's a little more effort and care put into things like Trolls.
Yeah,
not a lot, but still.
There's a cleverness in the writing that I have to give it credit for. Like it's a little more clever than a lot of others.
We've already talked a lot about this movie. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's good. It's fine.
It's fine.
Harmless is the best way to describe it. Hey, let me tell you real quick what I overspent on with this Steam sale. Talking about video games again real quick.
Oh, nice.
So I finally pulled the trigger on the Assassin's Creed bundle. I see it go up for sale a lot, where they'll put a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed games into one big bundle, and you can get basically a whole bunch of gaming if you ever want to revisit them for not very much per game. So this one, I think this might have been the first time I remember seeing it include Valhalla. Obviously, it doesn't include Mirage because that's too new. You still have to buy that separately. But it includes 14 of the mainline games, including the director's cut of the first game, then Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelation, 3, the remastered edition of 3, and then Black Flag, Freedom Cry. There was a Liberty one, Liberation, which I never played Liberation, actually. And then Unity, Rogue, Syndicate, Origin, Odyssey, Valhalla. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but it's got 14 of these Assassin's Creed games for $100.
Dude. Oh my god.
So I was just doing the math on it. I was like, if I bought each of these separately, even if I thought, hey, 15, 20 bucks, that's not too bad for each of these, I'd be spending 3 times as much easily. So it was a good deal. It's hard to say no to. Now I've got them all in my Steam library, which is cool. So at some point in the future, part of me wants to go back and just revisit a whole bunch of these Assassin's Creed games. Maybe not play them all the way through again, but just kind of revisit a bunch of them at some point. And then I actually did get some games that I didn't play yet, some smaller games. So outside of that, I spent maybe like $39 or something like that. So that was a lot. The Assassin's Creed games were a lot. And then I bought this game called The Hong Kong Massacre, which kind of looks like Hotline Miami, but different setting and a little more realistic, a little more like 12 minutes type of visuals. It doesn't have the best reviews. Like the reviews are somewhere in like the 70%, but it does look like a lot of fun, and it was pretty cheap. And that was in a bundle with a game called Ruiner, which is a hilarious title.
That's a Devolver title for you.
It's a Devolver title. I think it's a Devolver game, right? And so I haven't played it before. It's a cyberpunk action, kind of isometric action game.
I've owned it, but I bought it. Every time I buy an older game, I'm like, I'll play it eventually, and I just never do.
Yeah. So you have it in your library.
Yeah, there. I do. I haven't touched it yet.
Yeah, it came out, I want to say like 4 years ago, and it apparently goes on sale pretty regularly. So I've got that ready to go. 2 others I haven't tried yet that I got from this year that I'm excited to try just so I can be annoying about them at the game of the year. Gravity Circuit, which has really good reviews. It kind of looks like Mega Man, but very melee focused instead of shooting a gun, but it looks a lot like the NES Mega Man games. And then Vernal Edge, which looks super cool, kind of has Owlboy style pixelated graphics, another kind of side-scrolling Metroidvania looking game. So Vernal Edge looks really good. And then 2 Vampire Survivor likes. One called 20 Minutes Till Dawn, which I have not tried yet, but I'm looking forward to playing that. And then Death Must Die, which I did play actually more than I thought I would today. And it is a Vampire Survivor like, but it's very kind of medieval fantasy setting. And you get a whole bunch of characters that have different classes that you can unlock over time. You can actually equip different gear, including armor and swords and stuff like that. So you can upgrade your character sort of over time. And you also can actually hit a button to attack if you want, or you can toggle on auto attack like Vampire Survivor mode. So you can do one or the other, and you move faster when you're not attacking. So you can turn off auto attack as things clear a little bit and kind of move faster to collect things, and then turn auto attack back on and start attacking again. So little things like that I thought were nice upgrades. And I think Death Must Die is awesome. It's really, really good. So I'm really enjoying that one.
Death Must Die.
Death Must Die.
That's a great name.
And so all these different I don't know what mythology specifically it's supposed to be, but it's some sort of mythology where these other gods are helping you. They will pop in to give you power ups when you level up.
Oh, that's cool.
Because they want death taken down. Like they're mad at death for whatever reason too. So it's got a little bit of a Hades vibe to it, the way other gods are helping you. And then even the base that you go back to.
I am buying this. It's so cheap.
Yeah, even the base that you go back to has a little bit of Hades vibe to it, because you unlock a treasure chest where you can kind of share items between characters, and you unlock a little shop where you can use the money you collect to buy things. So it's got a bit of a Hades Vampire Survivors combo going on. I really like it. It's really cool.
So fun. I'm buying it right now. I thought this was like an older game. So like I just saw the titles you shared in our chat and I was like, yeah, these all look older. I didn't know this one just came out and it's like a $7 game.
Yeah, I think was this out last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty recent. Or at least if it wasn't early access, then it's at least 1.0 now. But anyway, it says the release.
It still says early access, but early access happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a good time. I read some of the user reviews. Not that I needed to. It's so cheap right now. Isn't it less than $5 right now? Or is it $7 right now? What is it?
Yeah, it's still $7, like $6.99. Yeah.
Some of the user reviews said things like, there's a lot of Vampire Survivor likes out there that people are putting out, and this one actually improves on the formula. I was like, oh.
Wow.
As soon as I saw someone give that review after playing it for a long time, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get it. So yeah. Did you buy anything on the sale?
I did. I'm checking. Hold on, I gotta check my account purchase history. Okay. I only bought. Well, it looks like I only bought 4 games.
Okay.
So I got a gift card for my birthday the other day, and so I was able to swing one of those costlier games, a couple costlier games that only had like a 10% off or whatever. Wandering Sword and Wizard with a Gun.
Ooh, what's Wandering Sword down to?
It was down to like 30 something.
Because it's 40, right? It was a little pricey.
Yeah, so it was like 22, down to $21.99. So I went ahead and got that.
What was it originally? Was it 30 and now
40?
It's 22?
I think 40.
It's too much. I know that. I remember thinking it was too expensive.
Yeah. Oh, it's 25 usually. So it was a 12% off game. Wizard with a Gun is, I think it's around the same price actually, like $20.
Okay.
But it's usually 25. So I just used my gift card and I only had to pay like $11.
Gotcha.
But anyway, Wandering Sword is kind of, you can tell that it's kind of like the game that you were talking about earlier, the Ninja Isen one.
Yeah.
Where English is clearly not the first language.
Yeah, I remember that from the demo. Yeah, I was like, all right. Almost got it.
But also, you can kind of feel that in the gameplay that they're not a AAA developer whatsoever.
Okay.
Because it's just a little. There's something like lacking in the fluidity of the gameplay, where I'm kind of like, at least in how they map the game, the controller buttons, where you have to press like left bumper and X or A or whatever to select your attack, and it's not always responsive.
This is like the grid turn-based one, sort of. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it was a little clunky. I remember that.
It's still clunky, unfortunately, even with controller support, which they didn't enable at launch. They, everybody kind of made a big stink about it, and they're like, "Fine, we'll patch it sooner than later," and they did. So I got to give them credit for that, but it's still only partial controller support because I don't think it's where they want it to be. So they only labeled it partial controller support. Gotcha. So because it was kind of clunky in that area, and in other areas, even going up to a person and going to chat with them, like you walk up to them, you select the person, and then you select chat. And then if you're done with them, you have to like actually press B to walk away from them. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's tedious, man.
And there's a lot of people to talk to.
I've seen other games that do that too. It's like, don't make me do this.
It's just from the clunky nature of it, and now like I don't know, those games are usually those type of grid-based turn-based grid-oriented turn-based games are not usually my cup of tea. I just went ahead and uninstalled it and got a refund for it because I was like, you know what? These usually aren't for me anyway, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that I kind of quit this one after a little bit. Yeah, so that's unfortunate, but oh well, I tried. And then Wizard of the Gun, I haven't even touched it yet. But the other ones I got were for less than $10. They were like 9 something. Nice. I got Division 2, which apparently I never had on Steam. I only had it.
Yeah, that was down to like 8 or 9.
Horrible. Yeah, and regular price is only like $20 normally, but that's because they want to charge you for the New York, whatever it's called, DLC.
Thanks, Ubisoft.
Expansion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I only had it through Uplay before, which is terrible. So I'm kind of glad I got it because sometimes I do have the itch to go back into something like the Division 2. I'm not going to play that mobile game. Sorry. But whenever that comes out, Heartlands or whatever it is. It looks like, oh, this looks like a Division game. I can't believe they got it to work on a phone. Why aren't you putting it on a console? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's so freaking crazy. But anyway, I've always liked the Division 1 and 2. Like, I put so many hours into those games.
Yeah.
I got to the very last boss in the last expansion, and
he was so. The expansions.
He was so. It's a lot of fun, dude, and the maps are really cool. There's a lot more greenery. Let's put it that way, and it's a lot more wide open. Okay. But the final boss was like so freaking tough, and I tried him. This is one where I was like tenacious with this one. I was like 8 times or whatever. I tried him, and I just kept getting obliterated.
What are you, a Souls game player over here?
At least 8 times, and then I just quit. That's and I felt so bad because I was in a session with strangers. But I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting too mad. Like I'm getting
a lot of Division battles feels like, man, it looks so realistic at times.
Yeah.
But then it's like a bullet sponge of a human being on the other side that you're.
Yeah. And that wasn't so much. If I could have just focused on shooting and killing him, cool. But it's the fact that you have to like constantly run upstairs and then run downstairs. Like it's one of those final boss fights you have to protect multiple areas of.
Yeah.
At the same time that you're fighting.
Gotcha.
And it's so stupid. It was just, maybe they patched it by now, but I just remember rage quitting and being like, I did all that work for hours and hours, and I can't even beat this guy with 4 people. It's crazy.
Jeez.
And even to get that far resulted in 2 people dropping off right before the final boss because they were like, this is so frustratingly difficult. And it wouldn't have been possible with just one person. It's just there's so many enemies from different angles. But anyway, I do love that game. The other game I got that was like $10 was like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, I think.
Nice.
I never owned it, so
okay.
I've
thought about grabbing some Microsoft games on Steam every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like I've almost gotten Sea of Thieves a couple of times.
Yeah.
Just because it'd be nice to have on Steam to be able to play on the Steam Deck without trying to do the xCloud thing, which.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not super consistent, but
normally I'm like, why am I buying an Xbox game because it's on Game Pass? But if the last year or so has taught us anything, it's like, well, developers don't really care about keeping things on the streaming platform.
Dude, yeah.
Same thing with studios.
It's almost like movie stuff. Like,
yeah,
if you're kind of like, oh, cool, I have Netflix, that means I forever have access to this thing. Not necessarily. Like in some cases, maybe, but not in everything. I wanted to read off a couple of sales that I think are notable that jumped out to me. So get out your pens and pencils, kids, if you want to save some money. There's some really incredible deals right now of stuff that either I already own elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the problem is I own a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, man, this isn't really for me.
But if you're like me and Kyle, you like a good simulator game, Thief Simulator is $2. That's kind of fun and stupid and silly. Mirror's Edge is also $2, which is actually a surprisingly fun little revisit. It's old, but it's a decent game. Lost in Random, which I think Jeff, you and I talked about a year or 2 ago when that came out. $3 for that one.
Wow.
Hang on, I'm trying to go quick here. There's a whole bunch. I'm just going to skip through. Oh, Her Story is $1 on Steam. You can get it for 99 cents. I know it's probably cheap on phone as well. Maybe it's not that expensive elsewhere. Let's keep going here. No one cares about that or that. A couple of the Metro games are really cheap. You can actually get like all the Metro games, I think, for pretty cheap. So go check those out. Dragon Ball Fighter Z is $9. There's a Lemmings-like called Zombie Night Terror that I talked about a long time ago. It's called Zombie Night Terror, and it's down to $1.30. Let's see, Sniper Elite 4 is $6. That one's a lot of fun. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice for $4.50. Let's see, Tales of Berseria, $5. Deus Ex: Human Revolution for $3.
Oh yeah, I got that on a sale a long time ago.
Game. Yeah, really, really great game. Limbo is $1. You get it for 99 cents. Hotline Miami 2 is $2. Talos Principle 1 is $3.
It is wild that games that as big as Ghost Recon Breakpoint and Gotham Knights are 80% off. That is just insane.
Not crazy?
Yeah.
Some Battlefield games
are good games too. I mean, they're not amazing, but they're really good.
Yep. Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 are both lower than they've ever been, according to SteamDB.info, which is a really fun site, by the way.
If you are that's cool. I didn't know that existed.
It'll give you like a little new historical low on its sale, like if it's lower than it's ever been. So Dishonored 2 is down to $3. Prey is down to $3. Alice Madness Returns is $2. Okay, let's keep going here. Some of these are worth highlighting for sure. Back 4 Blood, $9.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. That's well worth $9.
Yep. Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition for $10, just under $10.
Wow, that's so worth $10. That is exactly the price.
Think about what that game is. It is
it's
an Uncharted level of cinematic single player goodness. Like, it's really, really good.
Like, actually, if they had sold that game for $30 at launch, I would have been like, guys, this is a game of the year.
Yeah,
because if you think of the price to quality ratio, it's like,
I think you're right.
That's so good. Yeah, that's perfect.
XCOM 2 for $6, Injustice 2 for $5, Middle Earth: Shadow of War for $7.50.
Great! Oh my God, that's such a good game. Come on, man.
I know. The all-time low for that's $5, but that's still pretty good for $7.50. Sid Meier's Civilization 6 is $6. Titanfall 2 for $4.50. Huh?
That's $4.50. That's $1 per hour of the campaign. That's good.
Yep. A Way Out, if you've got a buddy to play with, it's actually surprisingly good little game.
Oh man, that game's awesome. I played that like 3 times.
That's for $4.50. So for $9, you can get 2 copies of it and play it with the buddy.
That's fun. By the way, every time I've lost as the other guy at the end of the game, every single time.
I lost. I played it with Derek and I lost. I told him I'd let him win, but Derek, if you're listening, which I know you're not, I didn't let you win. You won.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Kyle kicked my ass.
And then last two I'll highlight are $1 each. Left 4 Dead 2 and Portal 2, 2 classics for $1 each for those. And there's a whole bunch more. So if you go to SteamDB, which by the way is a lot of fun just to see like the number of people playing stuff and what the peak was. Like I like it for stats and info, but it's really good at spotting sales. Instead of going to the Steam store, which is fun to go to the Steam store and see what they highlight for you, but it can be hard to really just get a good solid list of stuff. This gives you a great list, and you can organize it and filter it by whatever you want on steamdb.info. So really good time. I freaking love a good Steam sale, man. So I know I already spent over $100, but I might not be done. We'll see. I might be able to hold off until the next sale. We'll see. Sometimes I just like having these things that are super cheap in my library for later.
Yeah, me too. Like, I mean, look at the current period that we're in where I know people on the podcast, on our podcast will disagree with me about like, well, we're kind of a lull, but like, I mean, that's how I feel about my library currently is like, I feel like firing up Division 2, even though I have all these other games I could be playing instead, just because it's like a comfort food type of game for me.
Dude, this is that time of year. We actually talked about this in our chat where it's like, I don't know what it is about holidays.
Yeah.
But like Kyle jumped back into Elder Scrolls Online, was it?
Yeah, I think so. They just had like a DLC or something come out.
He was like, yeah, why not? Because I don't care about my time, I guess, and I don't want to finish all these other awesome games. And and for you're saying Division 2, and I'm sure there's others,
it could
right?
be that,
for you.
Yeah.
And so I'm the same way. Like I'll jump back into something that's just super familiar that I can just not really think and just play it again, whether it's a replay of a single player game or I really love Star Wars, The Old Republic, that MMO, which by the way is free to play. And yes, they do hit you a lot with, hey, subscribe to get this perk, but you can play, I'm not exaggerating, BioWare fans, you can play a full-on BioWare Star Wars experience. I'm not saying the story is as good as Knights of the Old Republic, I'm not saying that, but it is very good. And each class has its own unique storyline, tons of planets to explore, and it's free. It's crazy. That game is crazy. Even just talking about it, I might go play it again. I have problems. All right. So lots of good stuff, of course, on the Steam sale. And it's not just Steam. Like I know Switch has a bunch of great sales in the eShop. Sony has some great sales going on as well. So now's the time to go waste all that money.
Definitely.
All right, let's go over a couple of headlines, and then we'll see if we have time to do a video game personality quiz together to see what you and I combine as with the personality quiz.
Okay. We haven't done quick hits yet, right?
We haven't. No. Yeah, we'll do those too.
Good. I'm just making sure.
I kind of dipped into them a little bit, but all right.
Yeah, we dipped our toes. We gave a preview of sorts.
Just a little taste. Starfield added a new update that finally adds DLSS support on PC, which I know if you're not a Xbox fan or a Starfield fan, you're like, this is why it was trash. It's like, all right, fair enough. Like yes, it'd be great if they would have had this.
Oh, that thing they should have had at launch. Also, I stopped playing it 2 months later.
As someone who played it on PC, I would have liked that, but I didn't find that it was ugly or had trouble.
So that was the main thing you played on. You didn't play on anything else.
I just played on PC.
Okay, cool. And you beat it.
I beat it. Yeah, I put like 50 plus hours into it. And just like my experience with a couple other of PC games, like playing through Cyberpunk 2077, I'm still playing that. I'm playing Phantom Liberty. But
so good.
But even with a game like that, it's gonna have a crash. I've told you guys I've had some weird crashes, some weird bugs from time to time that sometimes I've had to just kind of reboot it and do it again. Starfield
happens on consoles too. Doesn't matter.
Starfield had a couple of those. I had a couple of those. There was one, mission that wouldn't finish. I had to reload and re-kill a bunch of enemies.
Starfield had in my 5 hours I had with Starfield, I had like 2 crashes. So like it's
It's to be expected.
Doesn't matter if it's on PC, which you can. I know. It's up to the PC gamer to actually modify the settings, or if it's on console, which you can't really modify the settings at all. It's gonna.
I will say this: seeing that they've added DLSS. Gosh, I don't see that I would make time for this right now, but I could see myself over the next month or two reinstalling it and just trying some more New Game Plus without spoiling what it is. Their New Game
Plus. That's right. I forgot about the New Game Plus thing.
The New Game Plus is super cool. I really like what they did, and I am interested in experiencing it a little bit from this kind of new angle that they give you in New Game Plus. So DLSS would be cool to try out there. I might give that a whirl.
It's also worth it for I think you and I do this. And I think Kyle might do it too. When we get close to Game of the Year discussion, we always go back into a game for 30 minutes that we really loved, and we're like,
let me just try this.
Did I really love this? Yeah, exactly.
I'm definitely gonna do that with Hi-Fi Rush, with Resident Evil 4.
Me too. I'm actually holding off on Hi-Fi Rush.
Hogwarts.
Any day now. I should be. I just need the push. I just need to push myself really at this point. I need to finish Hi-Fi Rush because I've got the 2 levels.
Oh, it's so fun. And as a musician, I know as someone who loves music, you're gonna, dude, it's a Jeff game.
Yeah, it's 100%.
But I want to revisit Hogwarts again too, because I'm in my mind that, do I want to fight for this for best combat? I think I might want to. So at least give it some shout out there. So I want to go back and play that a little bit too. Although I'm sure I'll suck at it because how you get into a rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah, same thing with
Jedi Survivor. New Game Plus on that one? I can't remember if there is or not.
Oh, I don't know. There's no way to know. We can't find out.
No, I'm never gonna look it up. Also, I guess it wouldn't matter because we would you pick a different house in your next playthrough. So.
Oh yeah. What would carry over anyway?
True.
Some gear maybe. I don't know. Returnal's director is leaving Housemarque after 14 years there, so I guess things are falling apart at Sony. Sorry to hear.
Nobody likes Sony anymore.
Harry Kruger was the director of Returnal. He said he's leaving the developer after 14 years. It didn't sound like anything nefarious. It sounded more like he was like, "Hey, I've loved my time here. This has been great. See you guys."
This is kind of blowing my mind that the studio existed for that long because I only know them for Returnal. So the fact that they've existed for this long is wild to me.
Oh yeah, they did
Alienation, I remember.
They did the big PS4 launch game that Colin from Podcast Beyond back in the day loved. No, I almost said Retrogun. What was it called? Resogun? Resogun, I think.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I'm looking at their games right now. I remember Alienation coming out because that was supposed to be like a the Helldivers type game, and then it wasn't.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
Or it kind of was, and it kind of wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah. So he's heading out. I don't think there's anything there other than a guy who's moving on to a new career somewhere else. Jet Force Gemini, for those of you who played some N64 back in the day, you'll remember this one. This was a super highly anticipated game that didn't necessarily deliver for most of us, although back in the 90s, even the early 2000s, when games came out, even if a game was mediocre, we were so excited and we forced ourselves to love it anyway. And it was this game is amazing.
We loved singing the praises of mediocrity back then. Oh my God, dude.
It was a third-person shooter that really is not necessarily something I would say, dude, you got to play it. It's an instant classic. No. I don't think it holds up all that well. But boy, does it bring me back a lot of nostalgic feelings. Even just seeing the cover of that was like, dude, yes, I loved that game.
This is not one I ever rented. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a good time. I remember renting it from Blockbuster and then eventually buying a used copy from somewhere.
But while we're on N64, my brother just got one from a coworker, and he was like, "I don't have any of the classic." He gave me a NASCAR game and something else that we never played. Yeah. And so
I was
the one that still had the library, the physical library from when we were kids. And so I just gave them all to him. Well, for now, because I still have my N64. I just never plug it in. So I was just like, you know what? Just take it, because I'm not going to bother to plug mine in anytime soon. So just take it for now.
Just don't save over my game. I'm just kidding.
Well, I didn't give him my memory card, so he's got to do something.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they had memory cards. Yeah.
Yeah, but I gave him like everything you think. No Mercy, Wayne Gretzky, we love that one, fighting a lot. Yeah. No Mercy, or not No Mercy, NFL Blitz. We just love spamming tackle, switch player tackle. We just love doing that, because you just see in the background, you just see bodies flying. While
you have any Mario Party games? Those were great.
No, the only Mario games that I had was Kart, of course, and 64. And he was like, he had no Mario games. He was given Zelda games, but we were never a Zelda family. In this house, we don't play Zelda. If that's not apparent by my current opinion on Zelda. So, I have a feeling if I grew up with it, I'd be like, guys, I can't stop playing this game.
There were only 2 Zelda games on N64. People don't really like those games that much. It's fine. They don't really like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Ever talks about Ocarina of Time, like, ever.
Nope.
Yeah, it's weird.
Dude, that's so fun. What a good time that's going to be for him to dive back into some of those games.
Yeah, I'm sure he still has like the horrible controllers instead of some sort of modified third-party unofficial version. But just going back through those games, like he was like, I looked online and all these games are like $30 to $50 now.
Yeah.
Whereas I got most of these games, or at least the ones that we didn't have that we always rented for Blockbuster at the time.
Yeah.
I got them rating a movie trading company 10 years ago. And I got them for like $5 or $6.
That's awesome.
So I got them like a perfect time, where movie trading company, at which they're not a lot of them are open anymore. They had like just a collection of old games that were super cheap that they sold used.
Dude, some of those carts are just so cool, and some of them had special designs too. Like
the Pro Skater, Tony Hawk Pro Skater has that one has a black one. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 has a yellow one.
Okay,
What's the blue one? Zelda World is Not Enough has a blue one.
That one has a blue one. Zelda has a gold one.
Yes, I remember that.
There was I think Doom had a red one. We had Doom 64. I want to say that one was red, or was that the Super? Right. No, that was N64. Yeah. Doom 64 is a great game too. Super fun.
I love that game.
So much, dude. So many good times on the N64. Just reminds me of like breaking controllers and getting mad at each other for Mario Tennis and stuff.
Actually, I want to say 2 of my controllers still do if you squeeze a little too hard on the trigger or something, you hear because we have grabbed those controllers so tight when we're
little
mad.
Spring or whatever the screws, it's all broken.
You hear it loosening and it's bad.
It's a real problem. Yeah. No, it was actually recently I went and looked at the Switch Online N64 collection, and I was like, hey, I'm not giving them enough credit. They've put a good library of games on here if you subscribe to the Switch Online. Is it all of them? No, but it's a lot, and there's a lot of really good ones. It's funny, the N64 was kind of the party console if you were really into multiplayer games, or if you were a Nintendo fanboy and had to play Mario and Zelda. Like, that's where those things lived. But they would have these random excellent games by a third party that had no business being that good. And one of them was Ogre Battle 64. The subtitle was a person of lordly caliber, which is like one of the best subtitles I've ever heard. Amazing RPG game, but no one ever played it because it was on the N64. People only had that for GoldenEye and Mario Kart. Whatever. And wrestling, of course, which I don't get mad at people for. So anyway, Jet Force Gemini will be sometime in December hitting the service, and I'll definitely revisit it just to take a look and relive some memories. It is not a must play if you're going back to play N64 games that you missed. It's not a must play, but it's a fun nostalgic trip a little bit.
Yeah.
Deliver Us Mars is going to be free on Epic Games Store until the 30th. So it's free now. I actually just went and added it to my library so I didn't miss out. But to me, that's kind of remarkable because it's a newish game that is hitting that service. So Deliver Us Mars is free for a few more days.
I kind of dropped off that game. It's a little slow moving. It's a slow burn, walking sim, but there are puzzle elements environmentally. But I got to the part. I stopped after there's a launch that you have to partake in, where you were literally pressing buttons at the command of your captain, basically, who's like, and check the throttle here, whatever. He's using whatever terms for spaceships, and you have to like check the buttons. And I was like, this is so cool. But it took like an hour and a half to get there, so it was kind of like, I don't know, man. It's also not. It doesn't feel AAA when you play it, so that's kind of thing too. Like where the facial animations and stuff look a little weird. Space looks a little odd. So, I mean. How do you fuck up space? But
yeah, especially a game set there, you want to get that right, I guess.
But I didn't get to Mars yet, so that's the thing. It was like that's where you're heading, and I think a majority of the game takes place there. But people that like Deliver Us the Moon, I think if you like that, you're gonna love this. I mean, it's just more of that.
And if you have an Epic account, just go add it to your library.
It's free. Exactly.
It's free to add. The creator of Bayonetta has talked about, since he left Platinum Games, that was news a little while ago, but he had this recent video on his YouTube channel where he talks about how he expects them to continue the series. He doesn't own the IP Bayonetta, that's Platinum Games. He expects them to continue, and he's just bummed out that he won't be able to fulfill his vision for the series, which he said was going to be a total of 9 episodes / games, 9 entries, this whole saga that he had in his mind. But he said he's going to take the full saga to the grave with him, so they can just figure it out on their own, I guess, whatever the version will be. So, all right, that's cool, man. It from the report that I was reading, it sounded like the vibe was more like, oh, that's a bummer, I won't be able to finish that. He didn't sound like he was mad at them. So there you go. Also, we talked about all the different layoffs that have happened this year. One of the companies that went through that was Ascendant Studios after Immortals of Avium underperformed. I didn't realize that apparently its sales were so bad they laid off about half of the staff. I didn't realize it was that bad.
It was bad in the eyes of, doesn't Embracer own them?
I thought it was EA.
Oh, really? Oh, you're right. It was EA.
I think it's EA. So he pointed out that they were just one of many studios that laid off staff this year, and the main reason was that it didn't sell enough copies. And that to me is a major bummer, where it's like, if you don't hit certain benchmarks, people are going to lose their jobs. And I understand it. There's dollars and cents. It's business. I totally understand it. It just sucks that that's the only thing. If you don't sell enough copies, then you're not going to be able to keep doing more of that thing. So part of me totally gets it. It's very rational. But part of me is like, well, that's not fair. Let them make the next thing. So anyway, I feel both ways.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good game. It's such a bummer, dude, because the internet would tell you as soon as you see a headline like this in the comments, it would tell you, well, yeah, the game's not that great. So of course it didn't do that well. But it is actually a really fun game if you actually play it. I think it's actually really fun. So I'm just
saying. Better than a lot of games that sell many, many, many copies. So
yeah, true.
So yeah, there are worse games that have sold more copies, which feels imbalanced, but it is what it is. That's the risk of the new IP. Roll of the dice, Cult of the Lamb has announced this new content called Sins of the Flesh, which is a hilarious title for a content update. It's coming in 2024, no specific release date yet, but they're saying it's going to be packed with new features, stories, and more. So Cult of the Lamb is not dead yet. So there you go.
That's cool. And hopefully, well, maybe because Unity backtracks so hard, maybe that's not going to be a problem. Being on Unity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so let's see here. Let's take a quiz together before we do our quick hits and wrap up. Let's see, which quiz should we do?
It's a quiz that you can partake in as well?
Yeah, you and I will take it. It's just an online quiz. I just pull up a few.
Okay.
And we'll answer these questions together. All right, let's do.
Oh, there was one other. I brought up Embracer for a reason.
Yeah.
They said something yesterday about how they're in the early stages of restructuring, meaning more cancellations, more closures, more management buyouts, more layoffs. So just more reasons to not trust a company called Embracer, I guess.
Wow. Okay.
It's like good times and good vibes. That's the name of our company. And then they fire everybody. It's like, oh, you were lying the whole time. Okay.
All right. Can you see what video game genre are you?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
All right. So you and I are going to, we have to agree on these.
Your work laptop is confirmed to be better than your other computer. No.
Okay, good. Good job, work laptop. All right. So we're going to figure out what kind of video game this is the current gen podcast, what type of video game we should be, and you and I are the only ones who are representing it at the moment. So,
okay. So I hope Kyle and Dan are okay with the choices.
Let's agree on this together. And if we have to do an imaginary Kyle or Dan vote, we can do that too. All right. So, pick an animal you want to. By the way, this is from CBC Kids, I think. So it's very kid friendly. It's just like going to be picture focused.
A lot of wiener pictures. Oh, there's more.
You get it. Here, let me see if I can zoom out a little bit.
So we have.
So pick an animal you want to be: sloth, cheetah, dog, mountain goat, monkey, or leopard.
I don't know the characteristics of a mountain goat enough to tell you.
Okay.
Nor do I know the differences between a leopard and a cheetah.
Can we rule out sloth? Like, it sounds fun to be lazy, but I feel like they're just the easiest.
Yeah, I want to be a little more productive than that, but I don't want to be like the fastest cat in the freaking.
I don't want to be cheetah. No, I might be leaning towards leopard. I feel like they lay around a lot and they're awesome.
Are they the ones that are chill? That are like almost like if you were raised around one, they could be a pet. Are they the ones that are chill?
Maybe. I'm not the person to give you that advice. I'm leaning towards either monkey or leopard. Like, being a dog would be kind of cool, I guess, but you're rolling the dice on if your owner is a jerk.
So there are some cats that are. I always mix up cheetah and leopard. So like cheetahs and leopard.
Cheetahs are more chill.
One of those two, one of those two are the ones that are chill around humans. I think it's cheetahs.
I think it's cheetah.
Yeah, they're just like, oh hey, how's it going?
I think leopard don't give a shit. Pieces.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe we go monkey.
Yeah, maybe you go monkey. If I were a dog, I wouldn't be that dog. That dog's too tiny.
Yeah, this dog is not a good representation of the species.
Yeah.
Maybe monkey.
Not that I'd be an alpha dog, but I wouldn't be a small one. That's all I'm saying.
And I feel like monkey can do most of what we can do. That's probably why we're like,
let's just go with the one that's closest, I guess.
Right, we're going monkey.
Evolutionarily, I guess.
All right, your friends describe you as funny, loud, thoughtful, creative, helpful, loving.
How do they describe this podcast?
Loud, possibly.
Loud. I wouldn't say helpful.
If they have a very specific, that's true, a very specific sense of humor, maybe sometimes funny.
Yeah.
And maybe overly thoughtful, hence the 2-hour plus episodes we turn out most weeks.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we go with thoughtful for that one.
Thoughtful?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that one. Because we're too talkative. If talkative,
not that we're considerate of other people's feelings, but it's not that kind of thoughtful. But
we're going thoughtful.
We're thinking a lot, that's for sure.
Pick somewhere you would want to go: amusement park, the pool, water park, the beach, Island of Rabbits, or mountains.
Sorry, Dan, you're getting outvoted. Mountains.
And I think that's just because 2 of us live there and one of us wants to live there.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
All right, we're going mountains.
I think Dan's more of a. I think I remember him saying something about a beach.
Yeah, like they like vacation in Florida and stuff.
Yeah,
or amusement park maybe even.
Yeah.
What do you do in your free time? Hang out with friends, watch television, bake cookies.
They removed
pictures.
Gaming from this.
They did.
That's funny.
Take a walk or sleep. Then it's got to be watch television. That's the closest thing to what we do.
That's the closest thing. There you go. Lays around somehow.
Go and watch television. All right. Pick a candy to eat: gummy candies, lollipops, chocolate, mint candies, gum, or licorice. Oh, I wouldn't. Well, chocolate, I guess. Out of all
these. Chocolate's what I'm kind of leaning towards. It's kind of universal.
This is a very kid.
Who hates chocolate? Yeah.
This is a kid quiz for sure.
Yeah,
all right.
Definitely.
Pick a companion. What?
What?
Axolotl.
How would a kid know what that is?
Medusa, unicorn, skelikitty, vampire, or zombie?
What in the hell?
We got to go zombie, right? Or vampire, right? Vampire is the companion.
Yeah, that's a better one. Yeah.
I think we'd go vampire.
Skelikitty, a pet you're scared of. Okay, weird.
Yeah, I think we go vampire. Let's go vampire.
Axolotl.
Oh. Hey, we're an adventure game, Jeff.
Oh, that's perfect because that's my favorite genre. There you go.
We like to explore the world and aren't afraid of finding new things. We seek new experiences and are a very bold person.
Did they understand the watching TV answer? It doesn't sound like that.
I don't think they did. If we watch TV in our free time, we don't want to explore the world. What if it was sleep? Then what would the genre be? Whatever.
You like molasses games, the ones that are like, oh my God, can we go do something now? I can't even think of one off the top of my head because I don't play them.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. No, we are an adventure game. I'm not confident that Dan Kyle maybe would be okay with it. I'm not sure that Dan would love that was the selection. Whatever. We did the best we could. Okay. We did the best we could. All right, let's talk about some quick hits, and then let's get out of here for this holiday edition of our podcast. Jeff, why don't you go first. What are some other things you're playing or watching that you want to highlight?
Boy, let me tell you, I got a bunch of stuff to get off my mind.
Do it.
So the only other game I've been playing, I played the demo first, and I love when the full product is narratively so different from the demo. Like they just elaborate a lot more and stuff and build out the world way more. But American Arcadia has shown up as a highly praised 2023 game on the OpenCritic.
American Arcadia.
Yeah, it's on the OpenCritic. It was at least on like the top bar where it's like popular games or whatever.
Okay.
For a little bit there, because it had just come out like a few weeks ago, and I was like, "What is this? This looks interesting." It's rated like a top critic rating average is 79, but 94% of critics recommend it. Like so,
Okay.
like that's a pretty big disparity. It's a out of the blue games. I've never heard of them. Raw Fury published it. I've
heard of Raw
familiar
Fury.
with them. Yeah. But it's like a third-person platforming adventure game, but there are moments where you switch over to somebody else in your first person.
Okay.
So that's interesting. The story is like, I really don't want to spoil. You do discover early on why you're running from things, very, very early on, like 30 minutes in. But you're on the run from the law of the land in Arcadia. And there's a very good reason for it, but I don't want to give that away because it's fun to discover as you watch things unfold.
I feel like I saw this in some showcase at some point in the
Maybe it was
year.
on I think that's why I got the demo. It was on like a Steam demo thing or something.
Okay.
But the demo shows you just like the first level up with some missing pieces up into a point, and you don't really know why you're running from things. You just know you're on the run.
Okay.
So like they filled in so many gaps, and I'm an hour in, and I think it's a 4 or 5 hour game, so it's a short one. But yeah, it's cool, man. Like it's the aesthetic is like 60s with the oranges and reds and like yellows. And the outfits you're wearing are very 60s. Your boss dresses like Lumbergh from Office Space.
Gosh.
At the beginning of the game,
Lumbergh,
and then you don't really see him.
Awesome.
But yeah, there's like some Matrix stuff in there. There's some Truman Show stuff in there.
Hey, the visual style looks pretty good in this, man.
It's pretty rad. Yeah, it's kind of like, cartoony is not the right word. It's definitely like meant to be a little blocky. The characters look a little blocky, kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you switch to first person, it's really cool because you're the person running along, but you're being watched by somebody that's hacking into CCTV feeds.
Okay.
And sometimes that person that you're playing as the hacker will need to go do something on her floor. So you'll like take over as her first person and go do something. And that's really cool. And there is that mechanic though of being able to take over CCTVs, and you'll use that to go find something to raise and lower an elevator lift, to open doors, to turn on lights, to stuff like that. So you're doing kind of two things at once. You're moving things along. Like there's a part where I have to move a crane, and I can still control the guy that's running in third person. I can still control him using the left stick, but I'm using the right stick to move around on the CCTV and select different objects to move around. It's really cool, man. And it's getting like, I think Steam reviews are like very positive. It was $20, which is, I think it's well worth it for that price. Like if it were 30, I'd be like, maybe wait on this. But it's $20 not on a sale because it just came out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really digging this one. I might see this one through because it's so short. But that's the only other thing I'm playing. I can breeze through a lot of things I'm watching because it's very easy to do. A couple of these are very low stakes things. Like I watched the Good Burger 2 movie because I when I was younger I liked the Good Burger movie. It's just more of the same. If you're not into Kenan and Kel, you're not gonna like the movie. So yeah, just skip it.
That movie was from like 20 years ago, right? The first one.
Yeah, something like that. And the new one takes place after that, and like now I want to call them Kenan and Kel, but even though they have character names, now Kel's character owns the one Good Burger in the country, and Kenan finds his way back to the restaurant, and they want to be bought out by like there's so many people that you'll recognize. Like Laurel Howery is somebody that wants to buy them out. Jillian Bell shows up as one of the villains.
Oh, geez.
You'll recognize so many faces in the movie. It's kind of crazy how many people they got. There's some funny moments in it, though, for sure. I was still like laughing, even though it's meant for kids.
Yeah, it's definitely a kid-friendly one.
Yeah, very kid. It's a Nickelodeon movie at the end of the day. So I watched that. I rewatched Free Solo for some reason. Maybe Jusant got me in the mood to watch something like that. But that's a really great movie if you haven't watched it. It's not about it's not about the fan movement to get another Han Solo movie. It's for free.
No, it's the climbing one, right?
Yeah, it's the climbing one about this guy who climbed. Alex Honnold, I think is how you say his last name. He's always kind of done free soloing. Don't get me wrong. That's not whenever free solo climbers do that. Before they do a free solo, they're always climbing with support somehow. Like they're climbing with, whatever you want to call it, restraints, whatever you want to call it. So he's doing like a lot of test climbs first, but he wanted to be the first one to climb this cliff in California in Yellowstone called El Capitan. Mm-hmm. El Capitan. And like how they break down the path from the bottom to the top, like they even call certain parts of the cliff like their own name. Like, oh, this is where the trouble cliff is, and this is where the small gap is, and then this is where this, and it's like broken down by meters, and like they have mathematicianed the crap out of this climb because so many people have climbed it over the decades. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting to see how their brains work. Like it's kind of like in Jusant, you're like in real time trying to figure out where you're going to put your python, whatever they're called, python, whatever the hell it's called. Yeah. You're trying to figure out where you're putting your thing to stab into the rock. Mm-hmm. And if you stab it too early, you're going to run out of stamina, whatever. It's kind of like that. And then when he goes and does the actual climb, because it is about, him trying to climb without any support not by himself with cameras, I guess. Going to climb this cliff that's like 2,000, I want to say over 2,500 meters high. It's really high. Feet, meters, feet, one of those two.
Well, it's the height, but it's also the difficulty of how to get up.
Yeah, because you can't just go straight up. You have to go down to go back up sometimes. Sometimes you have to go sideways to go up. It's interesting. The final, third act of the movie is him doing the climb. Yeah. And when he starts doing it, nobody's really beholding him to do this. It's kind of like all of his friends are saying, if you decide to do it, cool. If you don't, cool. Like, they don't really care. Like,
it's just him.
It's just him, like, waking up at 5 a.m. going, I think it's time. And he just walks unceremoniously straight up to it, starts climbing. And, the cameramen are all flipping out, like, what is he, like, this is crazy. Like,
is this the climb?
Yeah, this is the climb, and he's so far up now. And
I did watch this. It's a really good one.
It's so good, man. Yeah. It's such a good rewatch, too. But, yeah, I love that movie. I finished The Pacific. Granted, I was only like 2 episodes behind, when I last talked about it. This is
fresh, but Pacific, Band of Brothers.
I mean, I think like the rest of television viewers everywhere and the world in general, the German side of the war is how holds my interest a little easier. It's hard to explain. My eyes were certainly open to a lot of stuff from the Pacific Theater, because it just feels like not a lot of people talk about how brutal the Japanese army was, especially to their own civilians, using them as human shields and stuff. Because I don't even think Germany didn't do it. They didn't do that to the same extent. You know what I mean? And they surrendered at the end of the day. Japanese were not surrendering. That was the whole problem. That was why they dropped freaking bombs. Yeah.
To me, it's a more uncomfortable side of the war. Like, it's much more unfamiliar territory, whereas Europe felt more familiar compared to what the U.S. was in terms of architecture and culture.
There's a certain level of I guess we would identify with that because it's more aligned with our culture in America. But there's a certain type of celebrity that's associated with the German side of the war. Like, you kind of look at it with Hollywood eyes, I guess. It's easy to do. There's so many freaking movies about it. But the Japanese side of the war was just brutal to the point where, like, this is where, like, PTSD stuff. Well, this and the German side of the World War I, where it was like, I think it was German and Russia.
Well, also we think of like the real villains, the Nazis and Hitler. That was in Germany, and so let's think that, like,
and they they caved. They caved.
Not that the Pacific side didn't have villains that we were fighting against. It just felt way different. There was like this element of honor to it that was different. It all just felt kind of like we shouldn't be doing this to each other.
There was a psychology that was much more difficult to penetrate because at the end of the day, when Nazis were like, "Oh, our leader's dead," well, I'm good here. I'm done for the day. You know, like
we were just kidding. We're gonna go back.
Yeah, we were just kidding. Yeah, we lost our backbone. We're good.
We're out.
Whereas Japanese, the army at least, they instilled a psychology in those soldiers that was like never give up, and if you're in a place where you feel like you're going to give up, you need to kill yourself. Like
ride or die, man.
Exactly. And just the fact that they were throwing civilians into certain battles was just like I think it was in Okinawa. I think it was in Okinawa, which is the final stretch of episodes. And then this. All of this Pacific Theater side is on small islands that are off the mainland because the soldiers' jobs are to take over those lands so we can establish our own bases there and put our own Air Force there and Navy and all that stuff. You know, that's the main purpose of this invasion. So it makes it easier for us to go to the mainland and actually fight them on their mainland. But anyway, I lost my train of thought in that explanation. But yeah, anyway, I love this show so much.
It's a more complex side of the war for sure.
It definitely is. Yeah. I know what I was going to say. So they weren't there for the whole. They dropped a bomb and it wiped out like a whole city. So we're done with the war, guys. Like they weren't. That's how they heard about the news. Is somebody just said, "Did you hear they had dropped a huge bomb and we're done here?"
They felt much more isolated compared to the European side.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
I've heard that,
and the enemy was just different.
I've heard there were people, I think mainly on the Japanese side, maybe on the other side as well, that it took years, in some cases, maybe even decades, till they even learned the war was over. Like, I don't know if that's true, but I've heard about that before on these really isolated islands, that there are some people who were still holding out their spot, waiting for word. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that before.
Well, I mean, news did travel insanely slow back then in those years. Not that it was like they had cars and stuff, but it was like, you know, they were such small islands. We're talking tiny islands like Pelelu. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
That's they zoomed in on the map and it was like this tiny speck of island.
Major conflict happening there.
Yes, and that battle was months. That was like 2 months. So I mean,
it had a Vietnam vibe to it that makes me very uncomfortable. Where I'm like, ooh, this just looks more scary.
And then of course Vietnam, everybody calls it a draw or whatever, but no, we lost. Otherwise, we totally lost. We just said, screw this, man, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Winners don't do that. A draw doesn't do that, you know. But this was just different because it was not that we were pretty much losing. If you were to watch the show, you might come away with the fact that morally we're losing, like physically we're losing a lot of soldiers and stuff, and the Japanese people won't surrender. So it was kind of like, I mean, I guess we should just drop a freaking crazy ass big bomb on them. What other choice was there, kind of?
You know what's interesting is that show starts off super rough and it's very violent, but then like you get this reprieve in Australia.
And like episode kind of, 2 and 3 or 4, it's like
you put yourself in their shoes and you're kind of like, hey, we picked the best theater of war over here. Like we're just on vacation in Australia. We're meeting pretty girls. Dude. Like this is amazing.
It just starts.
But they had no idea that they were about to go into the worst of it over the next several months.
And I think years. Band of Brothers, there's that episode where they finally do get to a concentration camp, and was the episode where I cried. That's the episode I cried hard.
Because they had no idea. Like you think about them realizing,
the news is sensationalized and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like you really don't really know,
or you haven't heard anything about it, one or the other.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Especially that early in the war for them. And that happened again in the finale of Pacific for me. I cried hard when the kid from Jurassic Park. That's what I always call him. Sledge, I think. Sledgehammer is his name.
He has like a big stare.
He's supposed to go hunting with his dad, and he just pauses and just freaking cries, dude. Like he's just like, this is after the war, and he's just crying. He's like, I can't do this. I can't do. And what he means is I can't do civilian life. There is no normal.
Broken.
He's just done, you know.
Yeah.
But he's not done enough to be like, I quit life and I'm just gonna, kill myself right here. He's just like, I can't do things anymore.
That sucks so bad.
And it's just like heartbreaking. And then like you see earlier in an earlier scene, his brother, who was on the German side of the war, is like, yeah, man, so I took these Nazis down. He's like got chicks on both arms, and he's just like a celebrity.
Right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's just such a good show. It paints a totally different picture. Don't get me wrong, Band of Brothers wasn't a happy experience whatsoever.
No.
There's still brutality going on over there.
Just a totally different style.
Totally different, especially when, like, I don't know, you see what's become of these soldiers psychologically. Like how they're throwing. This is from, I think I talked about this last week, but like there's one part where the Japanese soldier's head is completely blown off, and Rami Malek's character is like throwing rocks into his head, just kind of playing a game and like just throwing like really tiny rocks into his head.
About that.
And you hear drops, like you hear the drops of the blood, like in. It's crazy, dude. It's like, just leave him alone.
But they've they've lost sense of normalcy. Like it's like it's
just a couple. Okay, I finished Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I really like it. If you like the movies, and even the video game, they shout out references in video game in this. And if you like the graphic novel, they're able to tie like all of these things somehow into each other by the end of the season.
Nice.
And then it turns out to be, I don't know, it just turns out to be more related to the movie than I thought going in. After episode 1, I should say, because it felt like it was a different adaptation. And then it turns out that it's actually a part of something that we've already seen. And that was really cool. It's really cool. It's really funny. And the last thing I want to mention is Dream Scenario starring Nicolas Cage. And if you watch the trailer of this, it's so funny, dude. And there is eventually there's a point in the movie where it gets a little disturbing, but the trailer shows that people start dreaming of Nicolas Cage. He plays he doesn't play himself in this movie. It's not Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. He plays a professor who's very unassuming. He's got like a bald. He's like bald on top of his head,
like Nicolas Cage should be, right?
Yeah, and like Nicolas Cage should be without plugs. And he talks like, "Hey man, how's it going?" He's kind of nerdy. Yeah, I know a lot about evolution and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
So like he's very unassuming. He's not a celebrity. He should not be somebody that's being dreamed about. But the dreams are very passive. Like he'll show up and like it'll be something terrible happening to the dreamer, and he'll just be walking by and be like, just like nod to them or just not even acknowledge them. Just walk by, look at them, and walk away. That's all. That's all the dream is. So like he becomes a celebrity because of that. And there comes a point in the movie where this is early on in the first act, where he has to decide whether he wants to be the celebrity that people are seeing him as, or to just continue being a regular dude. And this is where the humor is in the movie. It's kind of all in the editing and like the presentation of how things are going in the movie, where his wife is like, maybe because he's got a wife and kids. He's a normal dude. He's like talking to his wife about it. His wife is like, maybe you should just like think before you do anything drastic. And he's like, yeah, you're totally right. And it cuts to the next scene and he's doing an interview on TV. He's like, whoa, wow, what do I think about this? This is crazy. Like that's the type of stuff, the type of humor it is.
It gives me like, the way you're describing it sounds like Don't Look Up, just in terms of its sense of humor and the character Leonardo plays, where he's like a normal nerdy dude who has no business being
totally oh my god, when he loses it in that newscast with Cate Blanchett, it's so good. Such a great scene.
It is.
But yeah, this is it does eventually take a darker turn. The dreams start becoming less passive. But it is like at its core, it's like one of those philosophical movies where it's kind of like dreams are noise that our heads make up, and they don't really have a meaning except for the meaning that you assign to them, like they're just a chaotic thing that's a part of our brain. They don't really serve a purpose outside of just whatever, you're asleep and your brain needs something to do. So it's kind of interesting to have that, I don't know, that conversation in my head while I'm watching the movie. Like, I mean, these people are just making up the meanings for why he's in their dreams and what he's doing in them. And if he really meant those things that he did in those dreams, it's like he's just a guy just existing. He had no control over any of that.
Is this going to be streaming? Because I'm really interested in this one.
I hope so. It's an A24 movie, so you never really know where it's going to go. It'll be
go
Amazon.
Somewhere, though.
Yeah,
it'll hit something.
Definitely. It's really good, and who else is in it? Eventually, like a bunch of young people that look really familiar show up at the end of the movie. In one of the funnier parts of the movies.
The entire cast of Stranger Things just shows up.
No, there's God, I'm going to look it up right now. The wife is played by Julianne Nicholson, who was she's been in a bunch of stuff. You'd recognize her if you saw her.
Okay.
Michael Cera plays the head of like a marketing firm. Very funny. Tim Meadows plays the dean, his boss. Oh my
gosh.
And he again is very funny, especially when he asks him, "Have you been dreaming about me? Have I been dreaming about you?" No. Like I just love the way he talks to him. Yeah, there's a Succession actor cameos at the end, and the girl from Prey, the Predator movie.
Oh yeah.
He cameos at the end
Great
too,
movie.
and I'm like, how did these actors end up in this movie? Because this is directed by a guy who's like, he's done one other movie and it was Norwegian. So how did he get all these people? Anyway, it's really nutty. It's out there, dude. And it's kind of like a very bittersweet, some would even say flat out depressing ending. But I'm kind of a nut for those. I love that stuff.
Yeah, take me somewhere new at the end of the movies. There's a lot of people who are on that.
Exactly. But technically he did achieve a certain goal by the end of the movie. So that's why I was kind of like, there's kind of it's kind of a sweetness to the bitterness too. Yeah. So that's why I call it bittersweet.
All right. Yeah, that one sounds good.
Yeah, it's very, very entertaining. That's all I got though.
When you were talking about that game earlier, the Arcadia one.
Yeah, this is a Jeff and Tim game for sure.
The vibe, or the way you described it, reminded me, and I had to look it up because I couldn't remember what it was. It was called Counter Spy. Or Counter Spy?
Never heard of it.
It was a side-scrolling game that I remember playing.
Style.
It was like an early PS4 game that I played. Might have been late PS3, but it was on PS4. So I know for me it was an early PS4 game. And side-scrolling. I
love how it looks, dude. It's such a good art style.
It had that same like 60s, 70s James Bond sort, like not really, but like spy, not noir. I don't know what the word is, but it's that spy thing where you've got lots of James Bond like music going on, but there's bright oranges with the dark grays and shadows. And so anyway, yeah, Counter Spy is a cool one. It just reminded me of that the way you were talking about it and the style. All right, so I already talked about Trolls band together. I keep saying Trolls 3 for short, but I realized that there is a very popular bad movie called Trolls 2.
Straight up, when we talked about it in the chat, I called it Trolls 2, and then when you said World Tour earlier, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They don't use numbers in this franchise.
Yeah, which for good reason, right? Because Trolls 2 was one of the most popular bad movies ever made. Great bad movie night movie if you have some buddies and some drinks. Yeah. Really, really funny one. But
I'll only watch that on invite only, kind of like The Room, where it's like, well, there's going to be a theater full of people. We should go.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, exactly. So yeah, Trolls Band Together. We talked about that already. Watched a bunch of Christmas movies this week, and I will say, out of all of them, like, we watched Santa Claus 1 and 2 with Tim Allen. We watched Home Alone 1 and 2. The only one that I would say I think still really holds up super well is Home Alone 1. I think Home Alone 2 has some funny moments. The kids really laugh a lot at some of the ridiculous pranks that he pulls on them. But it really is just Home Alone 1 in a new setting. It is like beat for beat the same exact story, even to the point of having like this older creepy person that he thinks is scary but then connects with and that helps him at the end. You know, it's the same exact story beats. That being said, I think Home Alone 1, it's so good. I mean, it's a John Hughes script. I think it helps that I saw the Movies That Made Us episode about it. It just helps me have more appreciation for how it came together. But everything about it, man, the cast is great. Knowing that John Candy came in and took pretty much pennies for that little role, he kind of did it as a favor almost.
I don't think he got paid at all. Yeah.
It's just so fun, and it's got a great Christmas vibe. Really good, strong, like late 80s, early 90s, just vibe and hairdos and everything about it, man. Like I really, really like it. So love that movie.
Oh yeah, me too.
Played a little more Alan Wake 2. I'm in chapter 4. No, I think I'm still in chapter 3. So I'm still a little early, but I like it. I'm still waiting for it to like be the game of the year contender.
You're about where I am, and in vibes alone, I was like, oh, this is one of my favorite games of the year.
It's got great vibes. It's a good horror game. Lots of really creepy moments. Great use of lighting, especially that first the first two really encounters. One's kind of like in a morgue setting, and then one in that you saw in the gameplay preview, kind of in that field store. Like those two encounters were legitimately scary, and I was like, dude, is this gonna be a hard game? Like,
and then apparently, like as soon as it switches to Alan, back to Alan, saying that in the tone of the raptor who says that in Jurassic Park 3. Alan.
Good call. Yeah.
As soon as it switches back to him, and that's when it gets like comically nutty, where you're like, what is even happening right now? I love that. I love that chapter so much.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So I'm very much looking forward to playing this more. It's been hard to get game time with it because we've just been staying up late playing cards and watching Christmas movies and stuff. So once family heads back and we get into a regular schedule, I'll play more of this. I have played more Super Mario RPG. I'm almost finished with the 4th star, getting that. I just love the cast of this game. I think I just think they've nailed it. It's absolutely great. So I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who hasn't played it, and like, would this still be really good? I still think it's really, really good. It's really excellent. What a good game. And if you aren't, check out Dan's streaming channel on Twitch, Dapper_Chocobo, because he's playing through this currently as well. Oh, and then I'm into Phantom Liberty. I brought my character, and I was just trying to wrap up stuff in Cyberpunk 2077, the main game. There's a few relationship side quests that I hadn't finished, just because you have to wait sometimes in game several days for them to call to follow up on a thing. So I had finished the game, and then when I reloaded my save to wrap things up, then I got a call from there's a character named Carrie, and I hadn't finished that storyline. So I did a few of those things, and
you'll keep getting calls. It feels like I remember being at the part where it was like, I feel like this is the end of the game, the end of the DLC, and I kept getting new calls from like, you should come over and do this thing for me, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Can you let me do the
ending, and I hadn't finished Judy's side story or Carrie's side story.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done a couple other interactions that can give you specific messages from characters at the end. So I missed a couple. What could have been,
the Carrie one happened like for me at the very beginning of Phantom Liberty, and I had to drive so far to get. I could have done fast travel, but I wanted to drive, but it was really far away. And I was like, oh shit, this was a main game thing. I should have done this in 2020. That's crazy.
I was kind of sad I hadn't done the Judy one yet, because the Judy storyline, whether you're the female character romancing her or the male character who's just really good buddies with her, there's a really good like friendship there.
Yeah.
And the final like little quest you go on with her, I thought was actually really cool. It felt, I don't know, it just felt like a really cool moment where you get to explore a bit of her growing up and see a bunch of her memories. And I don't know, I thought it was really good. And so now I'm just now jumping into Phantom Liberty. I do know I was a little overpowered for the end of that game. Like that final boss encounter was not.
I was already on easy mode, so as you can imagine, for me it was like, was that even? I can't even call that a fight. I just obliterated that guy.
Well, what's crazy is that like that villain plays a major role in Edge Runners and at the beginning of this game for for Johnny Silverhand, and it's just kind of like
the first interaction you have with him in the game.
Oh man, this is gonna be hard, and it was like just dash shotgunning him in the face till it was over. I was like, oh.
The first interaction you have with him in a game is through a BD, a brain dance, and that what's her name captured from the club that Judy's at, and he makes a comment to her, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah.
So as soon as you meet him the first time, you're like, oh, this guy sucks.
This guy's the worst.
Yeah.
So
he
anyway,
like he was looking down on her, and like I was like, holy crap.
Well, and because of the ending I picked, different characters are with me than I guess other people, and there's a major character death in my ending that happens at that moment before that last boss fight. So all
I don't know that I had any of those.
I won't say it because I know you might do another playthrough with one of your favorite games. I could see you going back and trying a different path or two. So I won't say it, but like it was just interesting based on who you bring with you, who you team up with, who's your relationship with, like who's going to be there in that final moment, and it just gave extra weight to that final encounter. So I thought it was really good. So yeah, absolutely loving that. And then of course playing Death Must Die. That's my other game that I'm playing. What a great title for a game. Anyway, I think that's all we got for this week. Between the two of us, we still managed to talk about a lot.
Did it.
That's what we do.
Miraculous, yeah.
That's what we do. Next week, we're going to be making our predictions. Hopefully, Dan and Kyle will be able to join us so we can all make our predictions for the Game Awards, because during that following week, on that Thursday, are the actual Game Awards. Right now, I'm trying to figure out, do I have the right schedule to be able to do a live reaction to it? I'd love to do a live reaction to it.
I would love to as well, because it's at night, right? So it's not during a freaking daytime that I don't have to work while I'm doing. Okay, yeah. So I
think it's probably 7 p.m. Eastern.
Unless I already bought a freaking movie ticket for that night, because it is that time of year where I'm like, I have to see everything for the year ends, blah, blah, blah. Which is not true at all. I don't have to see anything. No, I'll be in a theater. These
are rules we make for ourselves, just like me with, I got to play this game before Game Awards. Yeah, I don't really need to.
I really don't need to. I'm just like, well, if I don't see it then, it's going to leave the theater, and then I won't be able to see it for like 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, we actually don't have to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to do any of this. There is a movie that's showing for one line only on the 7th, so that's kind of funny. That's I can't do the Game Awards because of that. It's so stupid.
Let's see.
How dare you? How dare you, movie theaters?
So it's in Los Angeles. Of course, it's on the 7th. I'm trying to see if they have a streaming time. Doesn't say what time. I'm assuming it's gonna. Let's see if it's in LA. I could see them starting as early as 6 in LA, so maybe 8 o'clock. No, that'd be 9 o'clock Eastern. Is that too late? That might be too late for a. So maybe it starts at 5 o'clock. Anyway, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll at the very least, the following episode, we'll do a full reaction to all the award stuff, even if we don't have a chance to do it live. So we'll do it live. Yeah, looking forward to doing that. Looking forward to seeing who others pick for the Game of the Year winners, and who we all predict. Can we just, for our predictions for every category, can we just write Baldur's Gate 3? Can we just do that for all of us? And just put that as our prediction?
It's going to be in every category it's nominated for, yeah. Even Best Indie.
Most impact, of course, as well.
Yeah. Big impact.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening and watching. Appreciate you. See ya.